6:12. This is our business meeting. It is Tuesday, November 12th, 2019. We are in the Joe N. Idolat Teacher Education Center. We are at our district board office building. We are located at 6500 57th Street, Vero Beach, Florida, 32967. And the reason I repeat that address is because the public is invited to always come and attend our business meetings and our meetings that we do have as with the board. Let's see, we're going to move on. At this time, if you'll please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we get on to citizen input, we have a few items that we're going to get through. At this time, we're going to adopt the orders of the day. Board members, are there any items that you wish to move from consent to action?
Question.
Yes.
Did the superintendent remove items H and I?
I need to do that.
Okay.
Yes.
Board members first. Anything you want to move? Okay. Go.
Yes, board members and Mrs. Zork, I would like to remove consent agenda letter H, which is the African American Achievement Plan. That is for no action tonight. That will come back at a later date based on our workshop this afternoon. I would like to pull consent agenda letter I to action item.
Sorry, so you want to move consent I to action?
Mhm.
Okay. Any others? No?
That's it. Thank
Okay.
you.
I need a motion.
Move approval.
A second.
Okay. Any discussion to this? No. All right, no further discussion. All in favor of removing H and moving consent I to action and the approval of the orders of the day? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. All right, we are going to move on to one of the best highlights of the night. Thank you to Mrs. Maddox. The presentations. I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Moxley.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Zork. And so we have 4 presentations tonight, and I will turn it over to Kristen Maddox, our Public Information Officer, to do the introductions. And it's always great to have our students and our parents in the audience. Thank you to each and every one of you for being here tonight. We welcome you and everyone that's in our viewing audience as well. We're so glad that you tune in to Indian River School board meetings because we're here for our students. And so, Mrs. Maddox, would you please do the introductions?
Thank you, Dr. Moxley. Tonight we have the Vero Beach High School Ambassador Chorus here, and I'd like to ask them to go ahead and come up to the front. The Ambassador Choir is under the direction of Mr. Peter Bosgraf. He is the Vero Beach High School Chorus Director, and this is an audition group of 10th through 12th grade students, and they will be performing American Hymn.
Away
know that this is truly a busy season for all teachers and students, so we really appreciate them taking their time out to come and perform for us tonight at the board meeting. So we have a couple of board videos for you tonight, and the first one is about our Vero Beach High School football team. Apparently they broke a record or something recently. So if you didn't know, on October 25th, Vero Beach High School defeated the rival Fort Pierce Central, bringing home their 61st consecutive regular season win and breaking the state record for the most consecutive regular season wins. The winning streak will continue into next season, and they are currently on a 62-game streak. So right now they are playing Treasure Coast in the FHSAA Class 8A Regional Semifinals at 7:30 p.m. in the Citrus Bowl this Friday. That will not count on their streak. I had to do some research today because it is not a regular season, it's playoffs. But it will start up again at 62 next regular season. So here's a video celebrating their winning streak.
What I'm most impressed about our guys is that they stay the course, they keep their focus for each Friday night. What I'm proud of most is our football culture, and that these guys, have a lot of fun practicing. We coach them really hard, and at the end of the day, we're there to pick them up and love on them, and I think that gets the most out of our players. Not just play on Friday night, but practice during the week, and they really give it their all, and they're there for each other, and it's really a cool thing. I've got a great group of guys that I work with as coaches, and we have a lot of fun being around each other. That speaks a lot and goes and extends to our players. That's what it's all about. I've got relationships with coaches and community people, but most importantly the players and the former players. So it's really a cool thing, and that's what I cherish the most. We're really going to enjoy this one tonight and get back to work, and hopefully we can maintain our focus and keep this thing going.
Congratulations to those players and coaches. We also have a Veterans Day video for you tonight, and although school was not in session on Veterans Day this year, our district made it a priority to set aside time to recognize and honor those who served, and take time to thank our veterans and teach our students about the significance and the different ceremonies of the day. We want to remind them of the sacrifices that were made on their behalf. So from the school district of Indian River County to all of our veterans, to our heroes, thank you for your service and dedication to our country.
Although school was not in session on Veterans Day this year, our district made it a priority to set aside time to honor and thank our veterans, teach our students about the significance and ceremonies of the day, and remind them of the sacrifices that were made on their behalf. Flag ceremonies, ROTC presentations, and musical performances by our students, teachers, and staff members went above and beyond to recognize the men and women who went above and beyond for our country. From the school district of Indian River County to all of our veterans, to our heroes, thank you for your service and dedication to our country.
If you are a military veteran, would you please stand to be recognized? If you're in our audience tonight, please stand. It's okay if you're already standing, you don't have to sit. Thank you. Board members, would you please come to the front? So speaking of veterans, can I have Mr. Rodney McGriff please come to the front with me? We are so excited to honor Rodney as our Veteran of the Month for November. And Rodney is a crew chief over at our physical plant. And we're very blessed to have him on our team here at the school district. But I want to tell you a little bit about his service. And correct me if I'm wrong. Okay, I did do some research. So Rodney joined the Navy in 1986, and I already heard you talking about that in the lobby. You're very excited. The Navy gave him the opportunity to learn valuable skills in various trades. During his time in the Navy, he had the chance to sail around the world 3 times, with over 1 year and 6 months of sea time. Most of his time at sea was spent on aircraft carriers, such as the USS America, USS Nimitz, and the USS Kennedy as a PRAME. Now here's where I did my research. Tell me if I'm correct or not. Aircrew Survival Equipmentman, PR. He was responsible for keeping parachutes, life rafts, personal flight gear, and other aviation survival gear in proper working condition, working on aircraft oxygen systems. That's accurate. The aviation structural mechanic, the AME part, maintains and repairs utility systems throughout the aircraft. They work on systems such as air conditioning, heating, pressurization, and oxygen, plus multiple safety devices. So it's safe to say I feel very confident that you're working at our physical plant in our schools. Mr. McGriff has had the opportunity to visit several countries during his time of service. He's been to Spain, Turkey, Egypt, France, Italy, Singapore, Israel, Germany, and Africa. Rodney said that the most valuable lesson he learned while serving was to adapt and overcome any situation, to which he lives by daily. He said he is truly grateful for his service to his country, and he would do it again all over. Amen. Our Veteran of the Month for November.
Hey, anybody that know me know I'm short and sweet about things. So to all my veteran family, I look around here and there wasn't too many stood up, but for those of you who have never been there, Veterans Day really don't mean much to us. It's our family. See, what y'all don't understand is what my wife went through, my mother, my sisters, my family go through when we're gone, not knowing if we're alive, not really knowing what to expect the next day. So that's what I celebrate when it comes to Veterans Day. Thank you for this honor, but when you're honoring Veterans Day, keep in mind, there's a little boy, little girl, hadn't seen their father or mother. There's a mother that hasn't seen their son. Father hasn't seen their daughter. For months, not knowing. I mean, we lived sometime 2 to 3 months behind you guys. There were times where I got mail that was 4 months old and could communicate. So just keep that in mind when you guys honoring Veterans Day. It's not just us, it's our families that got us through it. Thank you very much for this honor. And I would like to personally say thank you, Shatana McGriff, because she was there for me. Thank you.
Okay, so I will turn this back over to Dr. Moxley to announce our final presentation for tonight.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Maddox. I'll wait for the board to get seated. Our final presentation tonight is an update on career and technical education programs within the school district of Indian River County. And it's my pleasure to introduce two individuals who are working specifically in this arena. Mr. Jason Keller, who is our Director of Career and Technical Education, and we appreciate his leadership so much, and he will actually be doing the honors for our presentation, and Dr. Colleen Lord, who is our Executive Director for Secondary Education. One of the things that we really want to make sure that we focus on when we look at career and technical education is we have a strong partnership with our workforce industry to make sure that we're not only providing the needs for our students, but we're meeting the needs of our workforce in our region and in our school district in our county, Indian River County. So we really try and take a lot of information in and work on those partnerships. Mr. Keeler has been the district representative on the workforce team, if you will, to make sure that we have up-to-date data and that we are preparing students to go out and enter the workforce. I think the beauty of career and technical education is that we try to make sure our programs of study, when we talk about a program of study, that means it's in a particular workforce or career area, and there's multiple courses that go along in that where they lead to what we call an industry certification. And that industry certification is designed so that when our students leave our system, meaning the school board, school district here in Indian River County, that we want to make sure that our students are equipped and ready to go out into the workplace with an industry standard that is recognized by that particular industry. I think it's also important to recognize that we try to make sure that we have articulation agreements in place with other post-secondary institutions. And so one of the things that we think about is what do we think of when we think of post-secondary education? That's not necessarily going and getting a 4-year degree. It may be getting post-secondary training in an area like at our technical college or in our state college system. A student may leave our high school with a high school diploma and they may have an industry certification and they may choose to go right into the workplace. And we want to make sure that that industry certification when they exit high school, that gets them there. It gets them there. But the multiple exit points that I commonly refer to is that that same student that a year down the road, if they want to enhance or expand upon their technical training that they received in high school, they then are also still prepared to go ahead and advance and move on to the next level, should they choose to do that. Other students may leave high school with an industry certification and they may say, you know, I want to advance to another level, so they may choose to go right into post-secondary. But that's what we mean by multiple exit points, that we want students to have choices, to have opportunities as they progress through high school and through our school system. So with that, we want to highlight and provide some information. Now, I know there's some folks in the audience tonight, and we welcome and so thankful that you are here. We might be able to answer a lot of questions in the presentation, and we hope that we are able to do that. And if there are any additional questions, we want to make sure that we provide you an opportunity to ask those, and we'll provide information to you. On our website, we will have a listing of our career and technical education programs of study for each of our 2 high schools. And of course, we are also looking at the feeder programs that start in our middle schools, because we want to make sure they're aligned at our 4 middle schools so that students, when they leave middle school and enter into either one of our high school programs, that they have many choices that they can move into at their high school. So again, we want to make sure that we have enhanced opportunities for our students to give our students the most a choice and opportunity that they can possibly have to go out and be gainfully employed in our community. So with that, Mr. Keeler.
And thank you, Dr. Moxley. Thank you, members of the board. And I also want to say thank you to the members of the public who are here, because believe it or not, and I understand change is hard, I'm actually heartened to see the number of people who take CTE education seriously. And I look forward to answering any questions that you have and given the opportunity to provide the information that will help you understand better what these changes look like within the district. So having said that, I wanted to take just a minute to walk through what CTE is and how specifically what we're doing is aligning to many of the things that Dr. Moxley mentioned. And as we think about how we serve students with excellence in the district, I want to make sure that we talk a little bit about what that means. So as we look at the transition of programs in the district and how we're realigning them, there are several key points to keep in mind here. The first of which is that moving forward, all 4 of our middle schools will be aligned with the curriculum that they're offering. Okay, this means that everybody has the opportunity to go to whatever high school they choose and already have begun that pathway. The second thing to note is that each high school will now have its own designated signature programs that are unique and aligned to local industry. An example of that would be the fact that we're putting cybersecurity in as a program at Sebastian River High School, which literally resides a stone's throw away from the high-tech sector of Melbourne. Add to that the fact that we will be adding aerospace and aircraft programs at both high schools that align not only locally to Piper and a partnership that we are proud to announce, but also within our local sphere of opportunity for our students. The third thing that I wanted to mention with regard to serving students with excellence is that all students are now capable of changing their CTE pathway in 10th grade. So for students that begin their pathway and decide to make a change, something that they have never had the opportunity to do but will now do moving forward is be able to make that change going into 10th grade. We're excited about the opportunity for students to try and new things. And the last thing that I want to mention before moving on is that every student currently enrolled in a CTE program, regardless of which high school they attend, will have the opportunity to complete a CTE pathway prior to graduation. So it's important to note that every student is accounted for and will have that opportunity. As we look specifically at CTE and some of the issues at hand, one of the things that I wanted to point out was that moving forward now, it's important to ensure that all of our programs align to Perkins 5 requirements. And I just want to share a couple of examples of how Perkins funds our programs here in the district. We use Perkins funds to transport over 350 students every year to various opportunities that are presented to us by local business and industry for those students to see what options are available for them. We also use Perkins funds to buy textbooks, or in the case of Sebastian River High School this year, we're actually installing a new oven once we get those funds appropriated. But we do use those funds for a number of things that are specific to all of our programs. The second thing that I want to mention is that it's important that our programs match and align to what are considered to be high skill, high wage, and high demand fields. And again, let's not forget that CTE is not just about students going to college. There are a number of high skill, high wage, high demand fields that are right in our backyard for students that do not choose to attend a 2 or even 4-year school once they graduate from high school. So it's incumbent upon us to make sure that we're arming those students appropriately. The last thing that I want to mention here on this slide is that it's also incumbent upon us and required of us that we provide students with the opportunity to complete programs that provide them industry-recognized certification. Moving forward, all of our programs will do just that. So I want to take just a minute to walk through each of the programs and show you everything that will now be available at our 2 high schools. And I'll start with Sebastian River High School. You can see the number of programs there. And I'm going to talk specifically about a few of these as we go forward, but I wanted everyone to see every offering that we have. And likewise, I wanted us to see what's available at Vero Beach High School. So it's important to note as you look at these 2 slides that between the 2 schools, we're not reducing the number of CTE pathways, but in fact, we're expanding our CTE programs to a total of 13. That's an increase. I'd also like to walk through some of those new programs in the coming slides so that we can get a taste of what those would be. One of the first ones that I want to talk specifically about, and I mentioned this earlier about aligning to local industry, is a program that will now be offered at Vero Beach High School, and that's aviation assembly and fabrication. We're proud to announce a partnership with Piper that will expand and offer opportunities at both high schools, but specific to Vero Beach High School, and again, keeping with the theme of keeping these local to industry. Aviation assembly and fabrication will provide that opportunity to students to learn aircraft propulsion systems, metal and structural assembly, and students will also take part in private pilot ground school, which is in fact the first course that you must take to achieve your private pilot's license. That's an expensive course, but our students will be offered that opportunity free of charge as a part of this program. Another signature program that goes along with this will exist at Sebastian River High School, and that's aerospace technologies. Again, in partnership with Piper, we will build out those learning labs and ensure that our students have all the tools necessary to be successful in these programs that will lead to the type of industry opportunities that we're speaking about. Computer avionics, electrical, mechanical, and hydraulic and pneumatic systems. And again, this is carryover. While we're focusing specifically on what says aerospace, I want to make it clear that these are skills and opportunities to earn certifications that will carry over into all types of manufacturing and other industries. So again, we're hitting a lot of opportunity here for students. One of the other programs that is important, I think, to mention, and while these are not signature programs, these are programs that will exist at both schools. I want to talk briefly about marketing management and entrepreneurial principles. We're talking about real-world learning and the opportunity for students to set up and run a business, as well as learn to assess and plan and implement business strategies. These are skills that our students need across all levels of both CTE and within life itself. And the last thing that I want to mention about this that I didn't bullet, but I want to make sure that we all hear, is that we recognize that with digital design phasing out, there are specific skills relative to that apply here. And so moving forward, digital design elements like Adobe InDesign and Adobe Illustrator will actually continue to be taught in our marketing principles courses at the high schools. So we do recognize that as being an important skill, and those students are now going to receive that as a part of the framework that works toward building a business and maintaining that business. The next one that I want to talk about is welding. And as we think about what I said earlier and the requirement of us to provide students with that recognized post-secondary credential, I want to make sure that we're clear on what's happening here. So moving forward, students at both high schools will have the opportunity as juniors or seniors, depending upon which pathway they choose, to complete an AWS or American Welding Society certification through Treasure Coast Technical College. And I mentioned that there are two options, a 1-year and a 2-year option. So for students who will be juniors or seniors, they will have the option to choose what they would like to do. And that doesn't even take into account the fact that students will now have the opportunity to complete another pathway, potentially automotive, and then still complete an AWS certification through TCTC, and in fact double their opportunity to find real opportunity in the workplace. I also want to mention and make sure that we all understand that this is free to students. There are a number of students who have graduated from high school here in Indian River County who have gone on, and I'm going to speak to that later, and received their AWS certification at a post-secondary school in which they've had to pay for it. This gives students an opportunity to receive that free of charge, and we will be providing transportation to and from TCTC for students who choose either the 1- or 2-year opportunity. The last thing that I want to talk about with regard to welding, and I know that this has been brought up, and that is the fact that students in the welding program, just as students who are in the culinary program or in the drafting program at Vero Beach High School, those students are held to the same graduation standards as any general ed student in any classroom in any of our schools. So there is not a change in the requirement of a student to maintain and achieve that 2.0 GPA for graduation. All students must have a 2.0 graduation, 2.0 GPA to graduate from high school in the state of Florida. So that does not change. The next one that I want to touch briefly on is web applications at Vero Beach High School. Again, this will be a signature program at Vero Beach High School. Students are going to learn programming and software development. They're going to create web-based applications. They're going to work in Apple, Microsoft, Adobe, Linux, and other OS opportunities. And it's important to note that this is a really good opportunity for a program that has tremendous growth opportunity. And those Bureau of Labor and Statistics numbers are actually quite staggering with regard to web applications, looking at a 13% increase year over year over the next 3 years. So again, keeping with the theme of high skill, high wage, high demand opportunities. And this one I'm very excited about, specifically for Sebastian River High School, as it will be a signature program for them, and that is cybersecurity. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the Herjavec Group. How many of you, has anybody watched Shark Tank? You know Robert Herjavec? Okay. So Robert Herjavec owns and actually runs one of the leading cybersecurity firms in the world. And he recently did a study, and they released their findings, and their job forecast for cybersecurity is quite honestly mind-blowing. First of all, I think it's important to note also that the average starting or entry point for workers in the field of cybersecurity is no longer those that have a 4-year degree. In many cases, it's those that don't even have a 2-year degree. The entry point in cybersecurity, because of the demand for employment is so high, has now come down to the opportunity now existing for students who will come out of our program with their certifications immediately. But I do want to touch on a couple of things here, and that is the idea that we're talking about high skill, high wage, and I want to go back to what I mentioned about the Herjavec Group. Their projections are, and these are actually founded by them and corroborated, we're looking at an industry that's expecting 350% growth over the next 2 years alone. The number of jobs is expected to be over 350,000 that are unfilled within 2 years. Many of those jobs currently exist in our own backyard. I talked earlier about the need to place programs in proximity to where the industry is. Many of the people that we know personally, anecdotally, live in Sebastian and drive every day to Melbourne or even Orlando to work in the high-tech sectors that already exist in our own backyard. We are preparing students to take those jobs. I want to talk briefly about business management analysis at Vero Beach High School. And I'm going to talk specifically about accounting for just a moment. With the transition of accounting out of Vero Beach High School and bringing new programs in, I think it's important to remember that while accounting will no longer be a standalone program, the principles of accounting are still going to be taught. So we are still going to be teaching accounting through our business management and analysis program. The last thing that I want to do is just take a moment to talk about students in CTE programs. And a couple of things here. One of the things that we're charged with, and I take very seriously about what I do, is ensuring students have the opportunity to take what they do within their CTE pathways at our high schools and either choose to A, enter the workforce with a meaningful credential, or B, take that credential, as Dr. Moxley already mentioned, and translate that to an articulation with either a state college or a 4-year university. With that said, all of our programs are going to provide students with those options, and that's meaningful. The second thing that I want to mention is that CTE is often a stepping stone into college, and though I talked a little bit about that just a minute ago, I want to be very clear about what I'm saying in totality with regard to these, because I'll use my own 2 children as the example. My own daughter graduated from Vero Beach High School 2 years ago. She went through the accounting program. She's now a sophomore in college and an accounting major, and already interviewing and being offered opportunities for employment after college. The opportunities exist for our students to take our CTE programs and translate those into 4-year opportunities. Conversely, I currently have a son who's a sophomore in high school, and he said to me, and I quote, "Dad, why would I run up $100,000 worth of debt when I can get somebody to give me a credential for free and then enter the workforce and be paid to learn my trade?" So I'm using my own children as the example of how I believe wholeheartedly, what we are doing in Indian River County is providing our students the best opportunity to take our career and technical pathways and apply them in whatever way they see fit. The last thing that I want to mention here is the industry standard, and I mentioned a few minutes ago the AWS certification at Treasure Coast Technical College, and I want to share with you a phone call that I received Friday afternoon from a graduate of Sebastian River High School's welding program. And this young man, tremendous. We had a great talk. He's currently working in Virginia, doing welding work in Virginia. And when he called me, he was initially concerned, which I completely understand. He said, you know, Mr. Keeler, I just wanted to call you and talk to you and find out what we can do, because I understand that we're losing funding and we're closing programs because of funding. And so we talked, and I was delighted to hear that what he had done was take what he had learned at Sebastian River High School, and then he attended Tulsa School of Welding in Jacksonville. And for those in the welding community, that is a wonderful school, and it is a school where you go there and you leave there with your AWS certification. So as he and I were talking, I asked him, I said, you know, just out of curiosity, I said, what if I told you that, and he explained to me how in Virginia, and I'll give this example, right now welders are working and starting in Virginia, working with their local union at $26 an hour on the check. So those are students that are coming out with that AWS certification and beginning their careers. So those are wonderful opportunities. But I talked to him, I said, you know, let me ask you something. I said, what if I had told you that in high school you would have had the opportunity for free to get the certification that you paid to get after high school? How would you feel about that? He said, Mr. Keeler, he said, if that opportunity existed, it would be the best thing that ever happened to me. And I said, well, what if I told you that that's what we were doing moving forward? He said, I can't tell you how glad I am to hear that, and I hope that all the students of Indian River County understand the importance of that certification. And while he did have to take an additional test with his union pipe fitters, he did tell me that that AWS certification is what led him to that point and gave him the skills necessary to do so. So I share that story because I wanted to make sure that we all understand that we're doing what others are saying that we should do. And by others, I mean those people who even came through our own programs and now work in the industry itself. So with that said, I hope that this has cleared up for some of you some of the issues. And again, I just want to say again, I'm delighted to see so many people passionate about career and technical education, because I can assure you there is probably no one more passionate about it within the confines of this room than myself. I believe in it, I eat it, I sleep it, and I drink it. So with that said, thank you for your time, and if there's anything that you need from me, any questions that you have, my door is always open, and I've made this very clear, my door is always open and my phone is always on. So please feel free to reach out to me and call me at any time with questions.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keeler. And if anyone has any questions for Mr. Keeler that he may not have answered, he will be here this evening and be out in the lobby, that you can certainly approach him, and he will be happy to answer your questions or get the answers to your questions for you. Thank you, Mr. Keeler.
Thank you. Does that conclude the
Yeah, it does.
presentations
Thank you,
for
thank you,
this
thank you.
evening? Thank you. We're going to move on to our citizen input portion of the meeting. During this time, I've counted, I have 23 citizens. It looks like you are here to speak on the CTE programs. I have 23 individuals, and then I have 2 additional individuals after that. We just asked that, out of courtesy, just standard procedure with the board meetings is that we will have 3 minutes per individual, and we have Mrs. Diagresta, our attorney, who will notify me that we're at that 3 minutes. And if we get to that 3 minutes and you're finishing up a last thought, you know, I'll give you that grace period, but let's try to be courteous to the other members in the audience that are here to speak, because with 23 individuals, there's quite a few. And then if there's any names that I call that, if you would like to pass, you when I call your name, you can just wave to me, and I'll go on to the next individual. But I have them here in order as I got them out of the box. looks like we're gonna start with Mr. Chris Keller, and then we're gonna go to Mr. Chris Long. So, Mr. Keller, yes, come on up. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
My apologies, I'm not dressed nor prepared to speak.
No.
I just wanted to say that the welding program as it stands at Sebastian is fantastic. I'm a close friend of the family who is at Tulsa right now, and he went up there for a welding competition last year, got second place, got a huge scholarship from the skills he learned right here at the school. And I hate to see that change. My youngest son is in the program right now, and it's really all I got. I really am not prepared to speak. I just wanted to say that the way it stands right now, it's great. I hate to see a change.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for coming out. Mr. Chris Long, and then after Mr. Long, we have Mr. Greg Franklin. Welcome.
You're saying that you're canceling the welding program and moving to TC, right? So basically you're taking 200 students right now in the class and making them take, the juniors basically, all the things they've learned for the past year and a half, making them forget that and learn a whole new book for the new year that Mr. Bardoff taught them. And me as a sophomore, I'm learning, I already have a half a year in, and I'm learning it. I have all A's in that class. And it's doing me really good because I have a 1.438. And to go to TC, you have to have a 2.0. Most of the kids in welding do not have a 2.0. They have below that. So most of those kids that are in there now can't go to TC. They would have to not do it and move to a different one, different core class. And even though they're gonna have to 2.0 to graduate, they still need to get that up. And those core classes will help it. But welding is one of the main ones that everybody wants to do because it's the best one out there.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your input. I do think there's probably, and I don't know if this is the time, but it seems like there was two pieces of that I don't know if I understand. Should I just, I guess I'm gonna just write down my,
I'm writing
yes,
some notes.
writing down this
Yeah.
so that we can get some clarification. And it's, I'm not, I think there's probably some misunderstanding, so we want to make sure that everyone understands the facts on this, okay? Hello?
Good evening. My name is Greg Franklin. I'm a first year in the welding program. I'm currently a sophomore at SRHS. And I feel like I'm being stripped of my future. I plan to enlist into the Air Force as a support welder, and with this program it's the only path there, and I'm just getting on that path. And with this going away, it's completely taking that path right under my feet and just ripping it out. And about the TCT program, it's probably most likely going to be after school because it has transport. It's not going to be after school. Okay, never mind. I just feel like this is very unfair, and I've recently come to my attention that $47,000 in equipment has gone to the SRHS program this year alone, and they're complaining about a lack of funding. It just makes no sense. That's really all I have to say.
No, I appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We value your input.
We're going to address some of the items.
We're going to get through these, and then we'll go one by one to the items, because we have 21 more speakers, and I think that,
Two more. You said not on this topic.
and then two.
I just want to say what a compliment to Mr. Bortoff's teaching and leadership to have so many students come out and support him.
Okay, so we have Tracy Franklin, and then Pamela Parker is next.
Hi there, how are you?
Hi.
Greg Franklin is my son, of course. He joined the welding by hesitation. He has excelled at it. And for him to be transported to wherever this TC, whatever it's called, on a bus, I'm at the hospital all day, that's not cohesive to life. He's not going to be transported on a bus to go from one school to another school because we've lacked in funds. Kind of that means you have pay decreases on certain people that they need to start saving money somewhere, because there's $47,000 accounted for at the school that is now going to be wasted. I mean, corporate America, we already have enough problems in it. We don't need to teach the kids how to do that. They need to excel in their classes, just like they're doing, and he's an amazing teacher, let alone an inspiration to other children.
Thank you very much.
You're
Thank you
welcome.
for coming out. After Ms. Parker, we have Mr. Robert Lindsay Jr.? Did I read that right? Okay. Hi.
Hi, my son will be a senior next year, and Mr. Botwin has taught him an amazing skill. I mean, he has excelled tremendously, and I hate to see that taken away from him. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. After the next speaker, we have Mr. or Rubio? Is it Mara Rubio? Marie, I'm sorry. Okay,
Hey, my name's Rob Lindsay. I have
Lindsay.
a local business in town that we actually need this skill set. I just,
Yeah.
really my reason for coming was to make sure the board understood how important this skill set is, especially now. Even my sister, we both of us were talking about this just by circumstance, just recent. The welding, the technical, computerized equipment now. We had to bring equipment operators and technical guys out of Orlando just recently at $150 an hour to fix 70s equipment in our plant. So it looks like y'all do take it serious. That's what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah.
I was really pleased at the presentation, and we're going in the right direction. I have a degree in horticultural science. I shred paper for a living. I mean, so those skill sets are extremely important, and as time goes on, it'll show out. But I have a nephew in the program currently, and I just want to make sure a lot of thought was put into not leaving any students behind. I know change happens, and sometimes it just has to, but wanted to make sure we were doing everything we could to leave no students behind in the transfer. So that's all.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Hi.
Hi.
My name is Maria Rubio, and I'm here to support the welding program. It's been awesome for my son, who he been long grades, and now, it shows an improvement. Mr. B is an awesome teacher, and I hate losing this we hate losing this program, not for just me, but for everybody, because it's been, it's a big improvement. And he just, he's so excited every time, he doesn't care about, he cares about other tests, but the
okay.
welding, when he passed the welding, he's like, hey, Mom, I passed the welding. That's the first test he always, and I'm here to support it 100%. So I hate to lose it in our school.
Thank you, Mrs. Rubio. Okay, we have Mr. Butteroff, and then Mr. Johnston is up next. Welcome. Thank you for being here.
Good evening, how are you guys? Good evening, everyone. I'm Mr. Bottoff, the welding instructor at SRHS. The reason I'm speaking tonight is the result of your decision to remove the welding program because of the Perkins 5 grant. On October 22nd, I received an invite to meet with Mr. Brown, Mr. Lord, and Mr. Keeler on this topic of a CTE program discussion. The invite had no information on what the meeting was about. The next day at our department meeting, Mr. Keeler advised us that nothing was wrong, just a few small changes, and everyone was required to attend. 9 days later, I find out that the NCCER carpentry program was eliminated from Vero Beach. Needless to say, I was very concerned about my students' future. On Monday the 4th, Mr. Brown, Ms. Lord, and Mr. Keeler did inform me that the program will be eliminated from SRHS at the end of the school year. This is because it didn't meet the needs of the local industry, because the certification I teach is considered lower level compared to the technical college's AWS. He also made it clear that both schools are the same entity and that they have to, by law, teach the same thing. High schools are secondary. Technical colleges are post-secondary. They are not the same. Condensed version. The rules of the grant state that you must have a comprehensive needs assessment comprised of representatives of career and technical education programs, teachers, career guidance, academic counselors, principals, and other leaders, administrators, parents, and students. None of my students, my parents, myself, my admins, counselors, or local welding businesses were present for that meeting. I would like to know why that violates the rules of the grant. Current students. The only students that will go to the tech center will be the ones with a 2.0 GPA. I track to graduate and dual enrollment. I've got many of the students that fall below these requirements. What you have said is that grant money is far more important than the student's right to have a free welding education at SRHS. 90 students yearly will be at a major disposition because they can't go or won't be learning the welding skill. Moving. The district claims that the program is moving to the TC. However, due to limited seats, only 10 of my student body are eligible to attend next year. But 100% of the equipment can go. As a taxpayer, I have a hard time with this. The village money was supposed to provide students with welding equipment at the high school, not college. It also upsets me that only 20 students between both high schools will be exposed to the welding trade yearly instead of the 100 that I normally have. My certification. Why do all other instructors get a full year in their subjects to get certified and I get 6 months? I would have to practice 8 hours a day for 10 months to reserve an AWS certification. All while teaching high school? I'm not being fired, but I'm not given a fair chance either. It's very unethical. NCCER. Mr. Keeler says my program isn't recognized like an AWSD 1.1. Then how come all of the CTE programs can teach a lower cert towards a higher one, but welding cannot? Why are my students in the program being singled out? I'm the only instructor that has produced an AWS Sense 2.0 certification in the school's 25 years. In conclusion, I gave the district an opportunity 2 years ago to better align my program with local business needs. It was denied because they didn't want me to pay the additional class period. The lack of communication and transparency in this entire situation is unbelievable. I ask that you guys please reconsider this because the lower GPAs are going to be the ones that are affected. The higher GPAs will do just fine at the tech center. It's the lower ones that my program is designed for. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. And we love passionate teachers like you, so thank you. Hello.
Good evening.
How are you?
Fine. My name is David Johnston, and my son Reese is a junior at Sebastian River High School. I recently found out that the welding program was no longer going to be offered at the high school starting next year. I'm here this evening to ask you to strongly reconsider that decision. Currently, he's in the second year of welding, which offers him a chance to complete the certification program at the end of the third year. Reese is a very bright and talented teenager, but like most kids his age, he's not very excited about school. Because cross-country and track, besides cross-country and track, welding is probably one of the only activities he truly enjoys and keeps him interested in school. I had a few other remarks here, but after the presentation, it definitely was, it looks like a good program. But, you know, my concern with regard to my son is, you know, all of his athletics activities are after school. And if this program is an after-school program, that wouldn't work.
It's not.
It's not? With the completion of the 3-year welding program and earning his certification, he would be prepared to go right into the workforce after graduation if he so chooses. As with most teenagers, he doesn't know exactly at this point which direction he wants to go. But, you know, I would be remiss in my parenting job if I did not plead with you again to reconsider and reinstate the welding program for next year, ensuring that all available options are on the table for his future success as well as the other students in this program. One thought I did have just sitting here was, you know, transitioning to the other program, and like I said, I do think it looks like a great program. Transition it in 2 years. You know, let the first year students go ahead and make the move to that program. But the second year and third year students that are already in the high school program, let them finish it out. And that would only be 2 more years total of 2 more years at the Sebastian River High School. I appreciate your time and the effort the board puts into proceeding and protecting the safety of our children and their futures. I thank you for your time, service, and consideration.
No, appreciate it. Thank you so much for your input. Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Keith Garrett, then we have Mr. Aiden O'Brien, and then Mr. Terry, David Terry.
Sorry if I'm not very well prepared.
No, you're fine.
I'm
Welcome.
speaking on behalf of my son, who, this is his first year in the welding program with Mr. Botteroff as a sophomore. The gentleman before me just alluded to, why don't we postpone this? If you must kill this program and you can't squeeze funds from anywhere else, now, shift your budget, take something from here and shift it over there to allocate these funds just to continue the program for 2 more years. And as far as the NCCER versus the AWS certification, I myself took welding at IRCC and obtained that AWS certification. The problem with that is this is taught as a beginner's course. I don't know what the failure rate is or would be trying to get an AWS certification, but I can tell you right now, I was in there at 20 years old, 19 years old, and everybody in that class at the college was 30 and 40, and they had already been in the trade for 10 or 15 years, and I squeaked by. So it needs to stay at an entry level meant for high school students. And the other thing is, when you go out into the job sector, that piece of paper or certificate is good, but nothing beats time. I'm an equipment operator by trade. I didn't get good overnight. It's years of sitting on a seat. Same with a welder. The first, when he strikes an arc, he's not gonna make everything look like a row of dimes. That takes a long time. And I think you guys are selling yourself short by not continuing this program for these children, at least for another couple of years. That's all I have. I appreciate your time.
No, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Garrett.
Good evening.
Hi, welcome.
I'm sorry if I'm disrespectful to anyone, but I don't particularly enjoy school. I don't like it. I'm passing.
That's
but
fine. We're moms
I don't
up
like
here.
it.
You sound like my son this morning.
You sound like my kids every day.
But I don't. I love welding. I'm a first year student. I haven't welded yet.
Mhm.
I haven't gone in the shop because of the bookwork, but I love it so far. And I don't want to do dual enrollment to have to go to the technical college to do welding, right? So I just feel like I'm being stripped of that opportunity to go and get this entry-level certification. I just feel like I'm being stripped of that opportunity to do that, and just feel like it's unfair.
Okay, thank you so much for coming. Let's see. Do we have Mr. David Terry? And then we have Mr. Stephen Garrett, and then Brianna Garrett. Hello, welcome.
Hello, how are you?
Thank you.
First off, I wish welding was flashy. I wish we could throw them up on the board singing or playing football, but we can't do that. Nor have we merged the football team with the local college team, thank God. We have not done the same thing with singing. They're not professional singers that were here, but we admire their talent and their abilities. We had 2 children come up through the Indian River County Public Schools. Both of them have been non-traditional students in their own ways. My daughter came up through the charter high school in the chorus and music program. Those courses are what made her graduate. That is why she graduated, not her math or science, anything like that. That's what kept her in. My son, Joshua Terry, very intelligent, regular classes bore him. He also saw the hell that my wife went through with RN school, saw the hell that I went through with my doctor of physical therapy school, saw the hell that the $110,000 loan that I've been given, that I took on to get my degree has gotten me. He found the welding program. I don't know many names of the teachers at Sebastian High School, but I know Mr. Botterdorf. He's been a household name because he really cares. He's called me a dozen times through the past years to inform me of an upcoming test or something that my son might need help with. My son is in high school. He's not at a technical college. He's in high school. He's in a program that introduces him to welding and gives him basic school skills that he can then go and get advanced certifications if that's something that he wants to do at that time. He loves welding because it's an introductory program, because he would hate it and would quit if it was an advanced program at a technical college. I've been at the college level. It's a completely different level. Again, my son is a high school student. The AWS Sense program at Sebastian High School is fully supported by the American Welding Society, and that is taken straight from their website, the same American Welding Society that provides TCTC their certifications. Although I know it's a different degree, and it is a lower level. It establishes minimum standards for welding education, and while the Treasure Coast Builders Association may not recognize it as an industry certification, with all due respect to them, they are a drop in the bucket for the demand for welders out there. Bottom line is I would rather have my son graduate with welding skills and a basic certification than have nothing at all. Further, Mr. Botterdorf is one of my son's heroes. He is one of the biggest reasons he gets up in the morning and goes to school. I would ask that you rethink your strategy and somehow include him in a feasible solution. He has a fire in him to teach that isn't found too often, and I would hate for you to be the group that extinguishes it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Stephen?
My name is Stephen Garrett. I'm currently a first-year student at the welding program, and I feel like what you guys are doing, you talk about this like it's a great opportunity for all of us students, but I don't think it is, you know, because how you talk about it, you know, you want to have all of us students go to the TCTC, and I understand that, but you know, a couple people came up here earlier, asked if it was an after-school thing, so, and you said it wasn't, but what is it? Is it supposed to be after school? When do we do this, you know? And I think that you talk about like it's an opportunity, it's just not, you know, because it's GPAs. Kids won't be able to get in because of GPAs. There's limited spots in this program. And not only are you taking these students in the welding program at Sebastian, you're also taking these students at the welding program from Vero, and you're wanting to put us all together at this TCTC that's meant to be a college level course, not a high school level course. And we are high school students. Another thing, you know, a couple people bring up this money, the $47,000, all that brand new equipment. What's supposed to happen to that? It's just gonna go by, you know, it's not, I don't think it's very smart. I think it's, all this equipment's gonna get wasted. In addition to all the students that are currently enrolled in the program who won't be able to continue on because of GPA, not being able to get to this TCTC to do the program. You know, that's about it.
Thank you, Stephen. Very wise. Okay, after Ms. Garrett, we have Mr. Scott O'Brien, Mr. Parker, Logan Booker, Holly Burge, Frank Lisboa. I'm just giving you a so the audience will know if they're outside. And Mr. Engel, I believe that's how you say that. Hi, welcome.
Hello, my name is Brianna Garrett. I'm a student at Sebastian River High School. I'm in the nursing program there. And I just wanted to touch base on how the TCTC is 20 minutes away. So that just, A class is 50 minutes long at Sebastian River High School. So if you have to take 20 minutes in transportation, let's say 5 minutes for the students to be able to get off the bus, get into the classrooms, and start class would be over by then. And then you'd have to take 20 minutes into transportation to get back, so that if, let's say it's 5th period, they would be leaving early from their from their 4th period, excuse me, and then coming late to their 6th period. It would completely inconvenience them. I also wanted to touch base on how Stephen Garrett, that's my brother, and I feel extremely unfortunate for the programs that are, the welding program that is being taken away. It's stripping him of the certification that he could have, and I believe that I don't believe who mentioned it earlier, but they did say that the certifications, like in the nursing program, they're pushing me towards becoming a CNA. They don't really push towards becoming an RN or a doctor. They don't push towards other medical careers. They push only towards CNA, so I don't understand why welding is being expected to push towards a higher certification, considering the other classes are not. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi.
Hello.
How are
Thank
you?
Name's Scott O'Brien. Want to speak at this from a couple different angles. I've coached soccer for a number of years at Sebastian Soccer, really close to Fellsmere. I've had a lot of disadvantaged kids on my soccer teams, actually Coach Connor. And I noticed that I got a list of some of the past students and recognized some of the names. So it's disadvantaged kids coming out of Fellsmere that take advantage of this kind of program, some of them. I also work for Tensor Engineering. I'm on the advisory board for Eastern Florida State College for their drafting program. And through Tensor Engineering, we work on structural steel bridges. I was project manager for our company for the I-4408 project. We are also currently working on the Blue Origin launch pad up at the Cape. And the steel fabricators are working on this are out of Tampa Steel, out of Tampa, and up in Palatka, Florida. Also, one of my best friends growing up is now currently one of the top welders at Piper Aircraft. And in Melbourne, there's just a tremendous amount of welding industry up there. I understand one of the most popular aircraft is manufactured up in Melbourne. And so this program for these kids is a good fit. Those kids that want to go into welding, they know that's what they want to do, or they want to try welding. And I've also had we're also working on the Virgin train bridges coming up the East Coast, and also got the opportunity to work on the San Francisco Oakland Bay project. So these kids, with your help, even coming maybe from a disadvantaged family, can have the opportunity to have a fantastic career and work on some of the structures I've worked on and have that type of career. So I think this is valuable. I think it should be at the high school level. And I think you do a tremendous service for those kids, because I've also seen what happens when those kids don't have a pathway. And, that's kind of what I fight for. And that's why, I do what I can for them. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, we have Mr. Kenneth Parker. Hello.
Hello. Not very good at speaking out loud.
That's fine.
This is my son,
Hello.
David. Sorry.
I thought you were like a ventriloquist for a second.
Yeah, well, my program, that I was in high school, I graduated from Indian River Beach, Indian River High School. Okay. Masonry. They got canceled the year after I graduated. I know what he's going to go through. You guys need to keep it at the high school level, because we don't have masons and we don't have carpenters, and we're building homes in Indian River County, and we have nobody that has that knowledge. This is the next generation. We don't want to put stress on them. We want to keep them at that level. For college, level is kind of rough, I understand change has to come, but put the change in over a period of time. He's 2 years into the program. There's other kids out there that are in the program too, that have already started it. It's wrong. We need to teach them something when they start something. let them finish it.
Hello.
Hello, my name's Logan Barker. So from the Sebastian River High School with the program. So not only myself, but others are probably not going to be able to do dual enrollment, which I think is what you have to do in order to take this program. And I have to take 4 classes next year, and in order to fit the program in, I would have to take 2 classes, which I can't because I have to do 4 next year to graduate. So I wouldn't be able to do that. Also, I figured out transportation would be provided, but hands-on. I believe it's more, at the tech college, it's more online. It's not hands-on at all. Like, but our program, it's very hands-on. You do a lot of stuff. You learn how to grind rust off. You learn how to paint. You learn how to weld, MIG weld. I can think of a lot more others, but not right now. Anyways, so basically the program that you're voting to eliminate, I wish you let, at least, if you're going to get rid of it for 9th graders so they know if they want to do it, then they can go to college, and the 10th and 11th graders that want to finish the program, they can finish it and get the certification.
Thank you, Mr. Barker. Okay, I just want a quick clarification up here. We're not voting tonight on any of these programs, just so that you're aware of that. We were presented information, so we're not voting on this tonight. So don't worry about, don't feel that you have to make the case for us not to vote tonight. We're just not, it's not on the agenda. We have Miss Holly Burge, and then we have Frank Lisba. Go ahead.
Ladies, gentlemen, my name is Holly Burge. I am a college-educated woman, but I want to tell you something, that all people are not created equal. Okay? We are not all equal to a college education. We are not all equal to a college-level welding program. My son has ADD. My son has Asperger's syndrome, and he counts on Mr. Botwin to be there every day for him. My son can't do what you're asking him to do. You are going to take at least 90 kids out of this program, and you're going to throw them to the wolves. Kids who cannot make a 2.0 average, who might drop out of school. But at least if they go through this program, they're going to drop out of school with a way to get a job and a way to live. All right? I come from Fellsmere. More than 30% of Fellsmere operates below the poverty level. Sebastian River High School is the lifeblood of those kids from Fellsmere. And you want to take that away from them, that hope. Not everybody who goes into a welding program is up for that college-level certification that the whole industry, they just want to know how to weld so they can go work at an auto shop someplace. Okay? If they make it 2 years in the program, if they make it 3 years and then they drop out, if they never have a 2.0 average to successfully graduate from high school, they still got to eat. If they can't go to TCC and they can't get a career certification from TCC, what are they going to do? I know, I'm really kind of new to this area. We own a water and wastewater plant in Melbourne Beach. We cannot get freaking people to go up there and work. There's nobody to work. I would give blood to have somebody just be able to weld a straight bead on a piece of metal at our plant. And I can't find anybody. Number one, they can't drive up there. But I want to tell you, it's all great and good to say you're going to ship these kids off to TCTC. But they don't all want to go there because they don't need to go there. They just need a skill that they can take out into the world and survive with. They don't need a $90,000, $150,000 salary. They just need to survive. And you're taking 90 kids and go, this isn't for you. You don't have a chance. Consider that before you vote. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I said your name wrong. Can you
It's
give us?
Frank Lisboa. I'm in my first year of welding with Mr. Botwin. I currently work for a couple people. I work for Tiffany Bush. Most of you guys must know her. She's part of Anheuser-Busch family. I work for BG Polo, if any of you guys know who they are. I do have hands-on. I'm currently in my boots. I'm not too fast to go work on a horse farm today. Not all of these students in this audience right here know how to use power tools, know how to use hand tools, know how to use plasma cutters, know how to weld at all. You know, you're just throwing kids into a TCTC dual enrollment program that you don't understand. These kids don't know how to do these stuff. You're gonna throw some kid onto a grinder that's moving more than you can see, and some kid's gonna have a real bad accident. And the thing is you guys are gonna look back and realize what Mr. Botdorf is teaching right now is the basic fundamentals. Just like basketball, just like soccer, just like baseball, just like any other sport, you need to have fundamentals. It's that muscle memory, correct? Welding, any other career technology, nursing, anything, it comes with fundamentals. You can't just take something that's high school level and move it up to a college level. Because those kids, me personally, I will be able to move on to that TCTC program. I do not want to. I don't want to do enrollment and have to deal with high school classes. Because I'm going to have to move from my high school classes to that college level. And I'm not prepared for it. And I'll tell you right now, I'm not. That concludes everything that I have to say. I hope you guys think of this when you guys do your voting and you guys reconsider.
Thank you.
Hi there. I'm sure I'm going to mirror the sentiments of most of the people in this room today.
Give me your name again,
what we want
sir.
to discuss,
Your name, sir.
Jonathan Engel.
Okay,
That was my son, Frank Lisboa.
thank you.
What I wanted to discuss is not the 3.5 GPA student, but the one that's 2.0 and below. Those are the ones that are going to be disaffected by this new program. They're never going to get into TCTC because they're not going to make the grades. If we give them an opportunity to learn a profession, to get excited about school, perhaps take that excitement and carry it on to their next subject and get them through high school successfully, then they can get into another program and they can finish their certification. I commend the board, I commend the county, I commend everybody's work for this continuing education that the technical school you're putting out, and it's admirable, and it should be continued, and I hope that it continues to get funded. But Dr. Mosley, you ended the last meeting with the following words: we're here for every student. Don't forget the 2.0 student and the student below. They're not going to get into this program at TCTC. And if the numbers are correct, only 10 students are going to move from the current Sebastian River to TCTC. What about the other 80? Or 90, whatever the correct number is. Please, I implore you, consider that student. Make sure we look at every student. Give them an opportunity, especially that lower GPA. This is their outlet. Don't take it away. Thank you.
Okay, so we have Mr. Alex Tim, Mr. Josh Terry, And then we will have Mr. Mike Murray, and then we will have Mrs. Laura Sanchez. Hi.
Hi. My name is Alex Tim. I'm a senior at Sebastian River High School. This is my 3rd year in the welding program, and I just hate to see this taken away from the kids at our school, because most of the people wouldn't be able to go to TCTC. And Mr. Baldorf, he's not here for himself. He's here for us. He could easily find another job somewhere else, but he's here for our futures. And he doesn't want to see this program taken away, and neither do I. I'd like to see the welding program at SRHS stay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
How's it
Hello.
going?
Hi.
My name is Josh Terry. I'm a senior at the Sebastian River High School. I'm finishing my senior year off, hopefully, with the high school welding program. It is really, really a shame that this is being taken away from the high school specifically. One of the things would be if I were a junior going into senior, as far as the class goes, and I were to continue at TCTC. One thing that I would be concerned about is, number one, yes, you can be transferred there by bus, from my understanding. However, I do work very hard for the things that I have, and I have worked 2 jobs 7 days a week before. I've worked very hard for what I have, etc. That would be a concern as far as security goes for me driving to the school and not being where my truck is, that I've worked so hard for. I can't be there because I do not have the program that I signed up for at the school as I originally signed up with. This program has given me a lot of things to learn, and I've learned a lot of things about the real world. I've learned to automatically have a pen when signing out a job application. I've learned many things about fabrication, disassembly, assembly. I've seen many Panther platform vehicles to where I could scratch my eyeballs out and still see them and disassemble them. They're always on the lot. I've learned how to use a plasma cutter, stick welder, MIG welder. I've learned how to use angle grinders, cut off wheels. I know which tubes to use, which tubes are cross-threaded on an oxyacetylene torch, which someone would probably blow themselves up with, and what I would refer to as Indian River Crater. We actually have a tank on board showing where some kid has actually stuck gum into a different school's tank, and it has actually been, you can see how bad it looks. Like you cannot tell what it is. But if there's one thing that I can say that I learned, even knowing I might have to progress to Tulsa, etc., if there's one thing that I have learned, it's about the real world, and that there are a lot of things to come, and there are a lot of things to learn, but I'm going to be prepared for it. And that's something that I can't get at a college level right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, so that is the last speaker I have in reference to the CTE. But I'm seeing that the board wants to speak before we have our next two individuals come up, because it's not on this topic. So I'm gonna start right here to my right, and then I'll work my way down. Sorry, Mrs. Berenborg, I'll start my way this way next time.
I always hear that.
I just want to say thank you to all of the students and the parents and community members that came out and spoke tonight and sent emails. This was by and far the most thoughtful. I just am so impressed right now, and I really am. And you've given me a lot to think about. We do say every student. And, I think about my own children. I have 4 kids, and I think about some of my boys, one of my sons in particular, and I think, would this be a barrier, right? Is this a barrier would it be something that would keep him from being a part of something? So you're giving me a lot to think about tonight. Again, we're not voting, but I hear you loud and clear. I have a list of questions that I'm going to go to the superintendent. I'm going to sit down with Dr. Moxley and speak with her about. I'm just so impressed with the level of how professional and respectful the students have been tonight and articulate. I know it's not easy to get up and speak, and how much love you have for your teacher. And at the end of this, truly, we talk about relationships all the time. I mentioned today during the workshop, I've toured the welding. I've seen a welding class in action at your school. I've been on a tour with Mr. B. The love that you've shown for him and the fact that, that relationship between your teacher, it is going to prepare you for the next step in life, because you do have someone that's teaching you the skills you need to be successful. And if that's not just a certification, that's about, teaching every student to be successful in life and to make good choices and interact with people. So thank you for everything you do, sir. I have to be honest, I saw a post, I think it said, "Don't elect these school board members," so I didn't love that post, I felt like a little, whoa, Mr. B, but, I probably wasn't supposed to see that, but I saw it. I understand. We understand. I mean, the way that you spoke tonight shows the passion that you have for the program, so thank you. You've given us a lot to think about. I'm sure other board members have things to say. You are appreciated and valued, sir. And if we haven't made you feel appreciated and valued, I apologize. But I have no doubt that this evening your students and parents have shown you how much they value and appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So ditto on what Mrs. Justice said about how much you've given us to think about. What I want to acknowledge is all of you who came out, all of the students who came out and spoke today. I know it's really hard to get up to that podium and speak. Do you know that I think it's the single greatest fear as measured is public speaking. So I know that took a lot for everybody who got up, who's not used to speaking in public, who's not used to coming up to a podium. This is a hard thing, a hard situation to speak in, and I really want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your passion. I want to thank you for how much you've given us to think about. I want to acknowledge, and it came up today in our workshop about, I may get in trouble for this, but how this could have been rolled out better, and ways in which it wasn't. And I understand it has to come to the district, and it has to go to the teachers, and it has to do a lot of things before it gets to the board. And there are so many moving parts of things, and what I'm hearing tonight is we didn't do a great job in that, and I want to take responsibility and own that. I, like Mrs. Justice, want to say I really hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying in ways I might not have heard it before. I hear your passion for the program. I hear your passion for your teacher. I hear your teacher's passion for you. We don't often get 15, 20 people coming out to speak to a particular issue because of how much it matters to them. And I want you to know, as not just tonight, but moving forward in life, your voice matters. Use your voice. It may not always go your way, and as Mrs. Zork said, we're not voting tonight. So I don't at this moment know how this is going to go, but I want you to know your voice matters, and I want you to always, always, always know to use your voice. That your voice is what changes things. Your voice is what moves the world forward. So thank you for sharing that tonight.
This is so hard. One of the things that
the sayings or the quotes that I ran on when I was running for school board is your voice matters and your vote counts. And tonight, I heard many voices that all matter. I just want to kind of hope to shed a little bit of light on some misinformation that is out there that has not yet been done. First, and you're going to get all of this information, I am sure we are going to make sure that you all have this information, but this is not an after-school program. The idea of you all going to the way it was presented to us, and you are all welcome to watch the superintendent's workshop today, it happened today, on career and technical education and everything that's going to roll out on the video. It's not an after-school program, it's not an evening program. It is a during the day, during the school program, of which you all would get #1 priority of school scheduling so that it could fit into your schedule during the school day. It would not affect after school. Okay, I'm looking over here because I just want to make sure that I give the right information as we understand. That's something that I keep hearing from people coming up to the podium, and I think it's very important that we kind of shed some light. We're not going to be able to answer every single question here, but that is something that I think is important. I think it's also important to say that the school board members here, though we have been elected to make these important decisions, we didn't just arbitrarily decide that we wanted to end welding because we didn't like the program. That's not how it worked. The way I understand it, it's really not, it's because the Pell Grant requirements have changed. Am I correct? Okay, I want to be able to say it.
Perkins, not
I'm
Pell.
sorry, the Perkins, not Pell,
Pell is
Perkins.
college.
Sorry. The Perkins grant requirements changed. That's not our, as a district, that's not our, we didn't do that. We're just receiving that information, and so therefore, as a result, we have to consider changes to that, right? So this is how it all arose. I have a lot to consider based on what everybody has brought forward. Of course, I'm going to have further conversations with Dr. Moxley as well. But something that I'd like to ask everyone to do, irregardless, I know that Christy Shields, she is the principal at Treasure Coast Technical College. I don't see her here. I would hope and recommend everyone, anywhere, even those listening and watching online, to please go and visit the welding program at Treasure Coast Technical College. I think the impression of the TCTC is that it would not be an environment, or they wouldn't have the right equipment, or they wouldn't have the right opportunities for you all to study there and to learn the craft and the skill that you need in welding. And I'd just like to give them a little plug, because they have state-of-the-art welding bays and virtual and all kinds of other things. I mean, I'll bet that when you go, you'll probably be pretty shocked. And what I understand is that some of the other questions and comments is that the $47,000 worth of equipment that were bought last year, what I understand is that that's not lost equipment. That equipment is still going to be used for you all at the Treasure Coast Technical College. I said it publicly. I'm talking on different things in different areas because I want to be able to mention some of, like I said, the misinformation. Mr. Bodaroff, sorry, I appreciate it. I said it
earlier, I said it publicly, I'll say it again. I will be in full support if we can make the timeline. I don't understand the timeline for recertification for you, but that is something that needs to happen. If we can make that happen, we need to. We need to honor equitably. I said it earlier, and I'll say it again publicly here tonight. I don't know if this is a Q&A for people to, it's just for me to be able to share, but I will talk with anybody afterwards as well. And I know that we have staff members that are going to be here to answer your questions after, which is what was mentioned earlier. I did see your post online, and I did wonder some things, but I understand the passion. And I understand the drive, and I understand the worry. But on my side, my initial thought was, where did a lot of this information come from? And I was pretty disappointed that somewhere along the line, something got shared the wrong way, that 8 of our CTE courses were going to be canceled. That's not the case. So there was a lot of misinformation, and we need to get that to you and to everybody so that everybody's on the same page and everybody understands, you know, what is expected, what is going to happen, how it's going to roll out, or at least how it's been presented to us. And tonight is not the night for us to vote. We're not there yet. Today is just the day of which we received the public information, I suppose. Please visit Treasure Coast Technical College, please. That's all I ask at this point. Take a tour. You're going to be incredibly impressed at the welding equipment, for welders, right? At the welding equipment and the bays that they have set up. I do hear a concern about the level of teaching. I hear a concern about the curriculum and the level of teaching that I think we need to have further conversation of the college level curriculum versus high school level curriculum, how that's going to be given an instruction moving forth. But I do hear you all and the desire to stay and the request to have a rollout of this. I hear you. I hear you. I am moved and impressed by all of you coming up to the coming up to the podium. I'm so impressed with you all. I really am. And I thank you for coming tonight. I thank you for sharing. I thank you for revealing your heart. I thank you for supporting your teacher. And I thank you, sir, for your 25 years of dedicated work, or more. It's still going on, to the students of our community, to those past, to those future. It is evident, sir, and I honor you for that. So thank you very much.
First of all, thank you for coming and speaking. I know that's hard. And I know you probably didn't want to come to our meeting until you were motivated to come to our meeting. So I appreciate the fact that you're here. This is a democracy. And you showed us tonight that it does make a difference when you come and speak. We didn't already make up our minds, sir. I did read your post.
Did not.
We have not made up our minds.
It's been presented to me that you guys have said it's going to happen.
But again, you're listening to us right now, right?
That's awesome. That's the best
Okay.
thing I've had in 2
Okay, but you need to understand something, okay? When you put it out there and tell people that this is what's happening, run them out of office, all that stuff, you rile people up and you get them excited and everything, and I get that. But let's get all the facts out. I did take notes when you were all speaking. And the reason why I did that is because I wanted to be able to say, you know, I have some further questions. And I know I've already asked you guys lots of questions. I have some concerns as well that were echoed tonight. I'm concerned about students that are 2.0 or below? And what are we offering our students, especially students with disabilities? You know, we need to offer them things. Not everybody's college bound. You know, we want kids to be excited to come to school. We want to offer all kinds of things that kids are excited to come to school about. And if we don't look at all those variety of things that we can maybe excite kids to do, then shame on us. So I have concerns about that. I do have concerns about athletics. Having been a coach for many years in this district, I do worry that a program that kids want to do, they should be able to have everything. They shouldn't have to choose between one or the other because of whatever program they're in. So I have concerns about not just athletics, but other things, math club or whatever else they want to do. So again, those are questions that need to be answered. How many students will be able to attend the welding program? I'm really concerned about that. If you're talking about, what, 90 kids you have in your program?
I've got 100, and if I understood correctly, they're gonna funnel from Grove Beach and Sebastian, so a max of 10 from my program, 10 from wherever we're, total of 20. How's that gonna work?
Okay, so you have 100 in your program. Okay, so I have concerns about that. You made a good point. Somebody made a good point. Who was it? Oh, the teacher. You made a good point. Why can't the welding program at Sebastian River High School feed into the Treasure Coast program? So I have that question as well. We can't answer it right now, but I have that question as well. Can the program transition in 2 years? That was a great point that was brought up. I'm not sure a parent brought that up. So David Johnson, you brought that up, right? Okay, so I think that's a really good point as well. And that may be something we can't control because of the funding. I'm not sure. Another point that was brought up was an intro to welding and going into, so it's the same one. Same thing with kids with disabilities. I'm very concerned about that we need to offer everything we can to all our kids. And we can't just say everything has to be this. And when you hear Treasure Coast Technical College, be careful with that word college, because I'm not quite sure that that's what we're looking at. And so I want to make sure that we're distinguishing what high school is and what college is, okay? And I am concerned about the traveling. I know that as a Sebastian River High School student, you live and bleed. You're blue and, is it gray or white and gray? Okay, so you live and bleed those colors, and that's your school, and you want to go to your school. I get that. And so I did have concerns about the traveling and what that would do for kids, and would they still be a Sebastian River High School student? Because I think that's mainly where we're hearing that the concern is, right? How many of you are at Sebastian? Okay, so that's what I thought. So those are some questions I think we still need answers to. I think, though, what is being proposed as far as the future goes is an awesome variety of things that we didn't have before. So instead of having less programs, we're actually having more programs, and we're offering more of a variety. So I think that should be applauded as to all the different things we're doing, and also the fact that you can get higher certification for free, I think is great. But will all kids qualify for that? And can all kids get that? Will they be able to make that? So that's my concern, and I know that's a lot of parents' concern. So we have not decided, sir. And when you want change, I think sometimes it's really great. You get more flies with honey. And I think that it's great when you want and you're passionate about something to be professional and kind when you speak, and you did that tonight. So I applaud you guys for doing that. And I applaud your teacher for your passion. I'm a teacher. And if you're not passionate about what you do, retire. Okay. So I thank you all for coming out tonight.
Okay, so I just, at this point, we don't have any more public input on this. We do have 2 other citizens that have signed up to speak, and yes, Ms. Sanchez. Mr. Key.
No, it wasn't for that. It was like, when will you be voting on this?
Okay. So for clarification on this, we were presented this information in our workshop today. We were given information ahead of time. Our Mr. Keeler and Dr. Lord and staff met with us to review what some of the changes are. And then the next step was to present it in the workshop today. At this point, I don't have any knowledge of it being on Dr. Moxley for vote.
There is not a date that has been established for anything to come
Right.
before the board at this point in time. I think, we're working through program guides, we're working through high school scheduling, all of that starts, for high schools in January and February, and so all those, that's why we're having the conversation now. So there has not been a scheduled date to answer your question directly.
So it's my understanding that we are planning here. We are ahead of this, and I appreciate it, because the worst thing to do is come out in July and say, here's the new schedule in August. We have a lot of planning that's going into this, a lot of thought, a lot of community input, as you can see here. I think staff's done a really good job in putting together what the critical needs in the workforce here is. But I think, in addition, I think who spoke to my heart was the students. So at the end of the day, you've given me a lot to think about, and where I was for sure in one way, I'm listening to you also, and I appreciate. And I'm sorry, I am the worst with names, Mr. Bodarf. I got it. I appreciate the fact that this is more than a welding program, and I see it at Sebastian River High School. This is a community, and you are like the coach, the team leader, and I see that you keep the students engaged and excited about coming to school. And to me, as a parent, I want my kids excited to go to school, and I want them to be able to look ahead and look forward at something that they're interested in, and I think that's how you prevent dropout. And so I appreciate the passion that you have as a teacher, and I appreciate you giving that back to the students. And I tell you, every one of you are probably future elected officials, because you're great speakers, so I appreciate you all coming out tonight. What we're going to do at this time, since it's not a voting matter, we're still in citizen input, believe it or not, in the very beginning of our meeting. We don't have any vote on this. We received your information. We have 2 other speakers that has signed up, but it's not related to the CTE. So out of courtesy, you can stay and listen to the other speakers if you want, or you can go into the hallway, and we have Dr. Lord and Mr. Keeler who would join you out there if you have any additional questions.
I am going to say, however, just as a note, because we talk about being successful in life, the other speakers sat and listened to you. So students, it may be a good idea if you don't have a parent here, but if my kids were in here, I'm just going to tell you from the mom in me, I would want my kids to stay and listen to the other speakers, just out of courtesy to them. So while you absolutely can leave, it's 2 more speakers, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
It's up to you. We do have, we'll have a minute that we need to get the translator on the phone for this one. So let's have Mr. Mike Murray. Are you here, Mr. Murray?
Not for this one.
No.
But we will. Thank you.
Good evening, Board. Dr. Moxley, School District staff. My name is Mike Murray. I'm the CWA President, Local 3180. The CWA and the school district started bargaining for our new contract back in March of 2018. Until just recently, we've been without a contract since the beginning of July 1st, 2018. Since then, we have bargained with 4 different chief negotiators, lost our CFO, HR director, and most recently, our superintendent. Needless to say, this has been this has not been an easy process for our hard-working bargaining team. But with the hiring of our new CFO, Mr. Fagan, our new HR Director, Mr. Osepian, Michelle Oak of Employee Relations, we're able to continue with the bargaining process to achieve a favorable outcome that I believe rewards our support staff with the merits they deserve. At our last meeting in September, the CWA and the school district had its final negotiating session for the 2018-2019 contract term, with both parties temporarily agreeing until ratification. I'm happy to say that on Friday, October 18th, we held our ratification vote, where we had 340 support members come out to our Union Hall and vote. Of that, all 340 members voted in favor of the contract ratification. This is the biggest turnout I can remember in my 16 years as an employee. This goes to show you how important it was for our employees to have this contract ratified and be finally compensated for the hard work that we all do. We're starting up again with our negotiations early next year for our contract, and we look forward to another favorable outcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Are we allowed to clap? No.
I don't know, sometimes.
Are we allowed to clap for that?
Yeah.
Mrs. Sanchez?
Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Welcome to Language Line Solutions. Please enter your 6-digit client ID. For Spanish, press 1. Or up. Please hold for an interpreter. Thank you for calling. This is George, ID 266112 for Spanish. This call may be monitored for training and quality assurance purposes. Is your client with you, or do you need me to call them for you?
No, she's here with us, thank you.
Do we have to notify him that he's being recorded?
Hola, muy buenas tardes. Habla el intérprete. Esta llamada puede ser monitoreada por motivos de entrenamiento y calidad.
Sí. Buenas noches. Mi nombre es Laura Sánchez.
My name is Laura Sánchez.
Esta carta va dirigida a los miembros del School Board, al superintendente, a la doctora Mosley. El motivo de mi carta es lo siguiente. Yo, al igual que todas las personas que están aquí, es el mismo motivo. Que ustedes no nos están proporcionando información acerca de las carreras técnicas que piensan remover de la escuela de Sebastian River High School. ¿Quiere trasladar para continuar?
Tiene que dar a él espacio. Él no oye.
No oye.
My name is Laura Sanchez, and I am directing this letter to the school board, the superintendent, Mrs. Mackley, and this is to let you know that you are not providing us information about the technology charges that are going to be removed from the Sebastian Arevalo School.
Sebastian River High School. La comunidad,
Sebastian Rivas High School.
La comunidad hispana no sabe nada acerca de este tema y es importante porque afecta la vida laboral de los estudiantes y sobre todo los que no se graduarán y no podrán continuar.
The Hispanic community does not know anything about this topic, and especially those that are not around. And there are many that will not graduate. They will be affected.
Yo pienso que las carreras técnicas deben mantenerse en el lugar actual de la escuela de Sebastian River High School. Necesitamos...
I believe that...
Adelante.
I believe that the technical careers are a main frame, and they should be kept for everybody to take advantage of them.
Otra cosa que quisiera recordarles es de la carta enviada por parte de la Oficina del Inspector General del Estado al representante del School Board y no he recibido respuesta a la queja citada.
Another thing that I would like to remind you of is the letter that was sent to you by the Special Board of Education that has not been answered to.
Otra cosa, he seguido teniendo problemas con el departamento de ESC. No hemos podido tener un IP facilitado para el estudiante 172954. Esta es la tercera vez que no se lleva a cabo.
Another thing is that we have not received the ID for the student ESE, and the ID number is 172954. This is the third time that it has happened.
No se hacen evaluaciones justas ni verdaderas.
No, no just or correct evaluations and true evaluations have been made.
No se hacen acomodaciones.
No, ¿en qué contexto es acomodaciones, perdón?
Accommodations.
Accommodations, dice.
Accommodations?
Sí.
Okay. No, no accommodations have been done.
No se trasladan las evaluaciones a nuestro idioma natal.
Evaluations are not translated to our native language.
No se proporcionan copias de las evaluaciones antes de la reunión de los IEPs.
No copies of the evaluations are given before the. Perdón, me perdí lo último. ¿Antes de qué, perdón?
No se proporcionan copias de las evaluaciones antes de las reuniones de IEP.
There are no copies provided before the meetings for the IEP.
También mi preocupación es que el año pasado mi hijo estaba en 8º grado y no pudo reunir los créditos suficientes para ir a 9º grado, lo cual significó un grave problema para él.
Another worry of mine is that last year my son was in 8th grade and he was not able to gather enough credits so he could go to 9th grade, and that created a huge problem for him.
El problema se compuso a tiempo, pero me preocupa en el futuro que si él no va a poder tener los créditos suficientes para poder tener una carrera o algún entrenamiento para la vida futura, ¿qué va a hacer?
The problem was fixed on time, but I worry about the future. If he will not have enough credits so he could get enrolled in a career or training or life training, then what will become of him?
Yo pienso que no, ustedes no están cumpliendo con la educación pública para nuestros estudiantes, no están cumpliendo con la Ley Especial de Educación para Estudiantes con Discapacidad, no están cumpliendo con el Acta de Rehabilitación de 1973 y ningún niño se ha dejado atrás.
I don't think that you are meeting up to the public education law and the law for special and disabled students and the Act of 1973, and where no kid will be left behind.
También pienso que necesitamos transparencia de parte del distrito escolar. Muchas gracias, buenas noches.
I also do think that we do need transparency of the school district. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Okay, so at this time, that concludes our citizen input. Did any board members have any comments to any of that? Nope.
Yeah, make a quick comment. Thank you, Mr. Murray, for your acknowledgement. It's good to hear. Thank you, and I appreciate that. And I look forward to working together collaboratively in the future with both you and our IRCEA. Thank you.
I do.
Okay, go.
Para la señora Sánchez, yo he hablado con la doctora Moxley acerca de su situación y ella me dijo que ella iba a ver lo que está pasando. Okay? Okay. I said that I have already spoken with Dr. Moxley about Mrs. Sanchez's situation and that Dr. Moxley was already looking into some of the concerns that she had.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we're moving on to the rest of our business meeting. At this time, we need approval of the consent agenda with I believe we pulled I to action, and then we pulled H.
Move approval of the consent agenda as amended by the superintendent.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
No.
Nope. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Thank you guys for coming out.
Thank you.
Let's see. So we're going to move on to action agenda. We did have consent I pulled over into action. And Dr. Moxley, you pulled that, and if you'd like to speak to that.
I did. Thank you, Mrs. Zork and members of the board. Based upon our discussion this afternoon regarding the African American Achievement Plan as that was pulled, but part of that discussion was to provide additional support to the coordinator or equity coordinator. And the discussion was that I would amend the recommendation tonight to bring a recommendation for approval of one position allocation for the position of performance data analysis for equity. And this position would be reporting to the coordinator of equity within the equity department. So that kind of makes now a little department of two at this point in time. And if you look in the agenda item, I did put the job description that's called Performance Data Analyst. Excuse me, this would be for equity. And I did, it's the basic job description, but we did change reports to Coordinator of Equity and Instructional Support. So that is Dr. Long's title currently. So that's who the person would be reporting to and supervised and would be working in the equity arena, supporting the equity recommendations, whatever those might end up being, as well as the African American Achievement Plan, as well as equity across our district, because I think it is in addition to, we have all those different components. So this job description is the basic job description. It will be for the equity area. And we will look at the performance responsibilities, and we may make some adjustments to those. We will highlight the equity specifics when we advertise this position, and I will bring back any changes. It will not change the basic structure of the job, and it won't change the position, but it will be more targeted for the area of equity. The other attachment that you have in this particular agenda item is there is an equity budget update where you're actually, we're building some salaries in there. We will update that because that was originally designed for the original request of 2 positions. So that budget is in there. There's more than enough to cover this new position of what we were amending the budget for to increase the salary for 2 positions, but we're only going to be asking for approval for 1 tonight.
Okay, I need a motion.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second. Doesn't matter.
Dr. Schiff. Okay, would you like to speak to your motion, Mrs. Berenborg?
Just thank you for doing this last minute change, and I think it's critical that we get somebody in right away to at least help and get things started, and I look forward to being able to approve that position later as soon as we find the right person. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Schiff?
Yeah, quick question, and I think we've gone over this before, I just don't remember the answer. Are the multicultural coordinators out of this budget or a different budget?
It's
Or the
actually-
stipend, I'm sorry,
It's a
the stipend,
stipend, it's a
yeah.
stipend. We are now putting it all in one department.
We are putting it in here.
We are going to
So-
put it in
so
there,
where-
so.
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
No, you go.
I'm gonna look to Mr. Fagan because I'm not sure those have been added into this budget yet. We've actually, we're doing a worksheet of all the things that are going into the department. So this budget that you're looking at right now addresses salaries. It does not have that built into it yet. So we'll bring back a whole budget that captures everything because and we're working on that right now. You do the multicultural stipends. Those have been paid out of Fund 100 and tracked in the supplemental area, but we're going to move those over and put those under this budget so you can capture everything that is funded.
Right, so there's the salary that's there, the increase in salary is for the 2 new positions, is that correct?
That was, yes,
Well,
that is correct.
it'll be amended, I know, but.
Right.
But eventually, it is going to be these 2 positions, we just have to
Correct.
upgrade the description of the one,
Whatever the second or whatever you choose to do in that department, in addition to the data analyst.
Right, and that still, though, is reflected in here and will continue to be, because we presume it's still the same, we just have to,
Right.
we're
We
changing the
just
job
are not
description.
spending it now.
Right.
Right.
And so we add the multicultural coordinators into this, and I'm sorry, it's late and been a long day, and I don't remember, are there other things, we had talked about in the past where there had previously been line items for for the achievement gap, and that some of those things, that line item disappeared, but some of that money went into district budget and was dispersed in a slightly different way. And so will those things be reflected in the new budget information that you and Mr. Fagan are working on so that we see where all of the disbursements for everything that would come under equity and the African American achievement plan and all that will all come out in this piece that you're
You will be
talking about?
receiving some additional information because Mr. Fagan's been doing a lot of research on this and going back through the budget. So you're going to receive the results of his research with that, because I know there was a discussion at previous meetings about this achievement gap line item and what about a grant and all that kind of stuff. Mr. Fagan has done a lot of research in that arena, so he's putting that together. You will get that. He will send that to the board members, so you all have that. I think that one of the things that came up in one of the discussions I heard is that we were using an $80,000 figure that was out there for use through the equity department, but we were now taking that back and putting that into salaries. That's not true. So if you look at this particular budget, you're going to see professional and technical services, there's $80,000. It's still sitting there. And that can be moved however it needs to be moved, but that is not being used for salaries. We're actually adding $92,000 to $100,000 in addition to what's already there. So we are trying to add resources but right now, the only thing I'm asking to expend is salary for this one position, leaving that flexibility as we, for the months ahead for a new superintendent to come in and have their review of it. And remember, at this point in time, we have about 2/3 of the year left, so it's not even a full salary for this year, and then you'll be looking at building the budget next year.
Sorry, clarification again. From our conversation this afternoon, I think I didn't hear it this way in what I just heard you say, so I want to clarify. This afternoon, we talked about making sure that the job description included specificity for equity. And I know we talked about wanting to leave flexibility for the new superintendent. I don't recall us saying that we were not filling this until the new superintendent came in, but I think I just heard you say that, so I want to be clear.
No, I'm glad you're asking for clarification.
Yeah.
The data analyst we're moving forward with.
Correct, but
Right.
the other position?
The other position, I think that what I remember, and I'll go back and listen to it again, because I know we covered a lot of ground, is that I was going to bring, we wanted specificity in the job description before we would move forward with that. But I was to bring that back to you, and that this would be to provide support to start the work now.
Right, but we're
Right.
not, but the other one, we were looking at the possibility of of revising that job description, bringing it back possibly November
Correct.
26th.
Correct.
We're not waiting for a new superintendent
Correct.
to fill that position. That's the
Correct.
thing I want to clarify, because I thought I heard you say it differently just now.
No, I'm
But no.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm saying that the data analysts, we're using the job
Right now,
description
I
we
got
have
it.
right now. It's going out on the street tomorrow
Yeah.
based upon your
Yeah.
direction here tonight. We may tweak some of the body of that and bring that back, but it won't change that position. A data analyst is a data analyst. The
Right.
data happens to be in the equity department. The other position, which was teacher on assignment, I heard the board give direction that you wanted more meat and substance that was very specific before we would move forward to that. So we will go back in the next days, weeks, not weeks, but the next day, 2 weeks, time period, whatever takes us to November 26th, we would bring back a draft job description for your consideration. And at that time, if you wanted to approve the job description, you would have the option to do that. If you wanted to allocate monies to go ahead and fill that position, you would go ahead and do it at that point in time. So we talked about the November 26th to December 10th. And then a new superintendent would be able to take it from there.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
okay.
That's my understanding.
That's my
Okay.
understanding. And we talked about how leaving some flexibility and how that would happen so
Right.
that the new superintendent will have the opportunity to shape that area as he or she wants.
Correct.
But, yeah.
Okay, we're on the same
We're good.
page. Mhm.
Any other discussion? Yeah.
I just need to, I lost myself in our lettering here, in the letters that where we are. So I just wanted to mention something, Dr. Schiff, in her comments, it just kind of gave me a pause for thought. Earlier in the discussion, I did not mention the when she mentioned line items, right? In our achievement, in the African American Achievement Plan, and then moving forward in other charts. You know, Dr. Moxley, when I've mentioned in previous sessions and in previous meetings to add a column, Mr. Fagan, for our strategic plan, where in our strategic plan does this align with, and then our budget, a budget line item, does this particular goal or whatever it might be, is there a budget line for that? Can we see that moving forward when you come back with
okay.
the African American Achievement Plan? It wasn't mentioned earlier.
Okay.
When we talked about line items, that makes sense to constantly be in the framework of saying, okay, we're always going to include where it falls within our strategic plan, and then
Right.
where is it being paid from?
Right.
Okay. Any other? We're good? All right, so let's go ahead and vote on consent item I. That's now action. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 5-0. All right. So that is the only action item that we have tonight on the agenda. We are going to move over into the report from the superintendent, Dr. Moxley.
Yes, I just have a couple items. I know that the day has been long, and we've covered many, many items today. To Mr. Murray, thank you for your comments this afternoon. Actually, I had it on my list to highlight, so thank you for highlighting that. We really appreciate the fact that we're moving forward with CWA, and our finance team is working very diligently to go ahead and get the retro checks and everything going, so we can, I think our target date is before Thanksgiving, so I think we're hoping to accomplish that, and appreciated the overwhelming vote that people were very interested in and on that. So thank you very much for that. The second item that I wanted to bring up is that last Wednesday, board members, I really appreciated working with you and HYA. It was a very productive day, And I just really want to commend the board and commend HYA for their leadership and the Delphi technique that they helped to implement to get through. And I think that, because I didn't read an article about our 6 finalists, and I really want to highlight that through the efforts and the partnership and the leadership and expertise of HYA and this board doing a lot of your due diligence, you really highlighted 6 semifinalists that I think are going to be able to come to the table on Thursday. We do have the schedule for the public. The schedule is out there. I want to make sure that people know that if you go to our website, you can pull up the 6 semifinalists. You'll see a little blurb about them, and then you can see the interview schedule. We are all set with a schedule on Friday. I appreciated working with Dr. Brown on that. I think we've got, Mrs. Esplin has coordinated all the logistics of it, and then we're set to go on Saturday as well. Mr. Teskey and Mrs. Maddox worked on the tours, and we have maps and everything, and we've really appreciated the community because we have little welcome bags for our candidates at the hotels. And so I really think that thanks to everybody, we're going to have the Great Indian River welcome ready for our candidates. So again, I really want to applaud how concise and collaborative and productive the day was, and really appreciate Dr. Brown and Dr. Adams' leadership and expertise on that moment in time. The second item or third item I wanted to talk to you about is I want to remind everybody to start looking for the 2020 census report is done this year in 2020. So April 1st, 2020 is Census Day, and many people don't really think about that, but that is very, very critical for communities as a whole, and our school districts are no different than that. It really kind of does across our country and the nation. It guides a lot of statistics, grants, budgets, everything, resources to communities, and we want to make sure that we're participating in the census so our community gets the benefit of the census data as it relates to and transfers to resources to us. And then the last item I wanted to bring some clarification, and I've been working with Mr. Gresta and Mr. Helsby on this particular item, but, and board members, you'll remember that on October 14th, you as a school board sat and we had an impasse hearing with IRCEA, and at the end of the day you took action and you voted with a 5-0 vote to support a motion on behalf of the district. And in that motion there happened to be 2 impasse articles that were resolved regarding compensation and insurance for the 2018-19 contract year. So by law, the 2 resolved impasse articles were combined with those tentative agreements previously arrived by the school district and IRCA, and they were submitted then as a next step to the IRCEA bargaining unit members for a ratification vote. And on November 6th, the school district was notified by IRCEA that the ratification vote was not passed. And so, as a result, now the 2 resolved impasse articles will now be imposed, and the tentative agreements revert to a status quo. So I think that's kind of where we are, and I've had a couple people ask me for, okay, what are the next steps? What are they? And so I wanted to really provide clarification for that. So because of that, the vote that you took on October 14th is now imposed. That does not come back to you for a vote. We simply take that vote and that action that was done by the board on that night, we take and we put that into place. The point of clarification that I want to provide for you is that the motion, I've gone back and looked at the hearing and I've looked at the motion, but if you'll remember, I had before you a motion that had my motion, and of course that was ultimately what was voted on and passed. So as a result of those 2 impasse articles, the following changes will be made, therefore, because of that vote. There will be a performance pay increase, and the chart is we have that in board docs. The balance will be spread out over the remainder of paychecks. The target date for processing of performance pay will be January 15th. However, we're attempting to process that all before the winter break. There's just a lot of moving parts with evaluations and things that have to go into play. There was also a $600 per employee wage increase that was effective July 1st, 2019. While that was during the bargaining process, through the impasse process, that was discussed and both parties agreed to it, it was part of your motion at the board table. And so therefore, you took action on that. We are moving forward to pay that, and the remaining balance will be spread out over any remaining paychecks. The target date for processing of the wage increase is December 15th. So we're getting that processed, and that will be distributed to employees before the winter break and their December 15th paycheck. We will, again, try to expedite that because our goal was to get everything for both union contracts before Thanksgiving. We're going to try our best to do that. We do know that at this point in time with IRCA, that the numbers, just the volume, is a little bit harder to do, but we will attempt to do it for everyone, but definitely by the December 15th paycheck. As a result of that action, there will be no premium increase to employee contribution for the insurance plan for the 2019-20 insurance calendar, which runs October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2020. And then we also will be looking at any teacher who's a non-subscriber to the district health plan will receive the one-time lump sum of $674, and we will send details about that later. We're still in the process of researching that. So that's just kind of an update, and I wanted to provide that clarification. And that's what I have tonight.
Thank you. That's a lot of information. All right, so we're moving on to discussion. We did have an item added, crossings and dismissal. Mrs. Rosario?
Yes, thank you. So we all know that community involvement is beneficial for our children in all areas of their life. I want to share a little bit that I wrote down and then an experience that happened recently. We see the impact of community involvement with children in schools, in our towns, in businesses as they are traveling with their parents or their guardians. Perhaps one of the greatest examples of the profound and inspiring ways that community involvement affects children in our society is really in the daily in and out of their life. The beauty of being a part of a community is that these events that children are a part of and their experiences eventually lead to the building of really profound relationships. And relationships must become a part of children's everyday experiences. For some, this would happen with their parents. For others, it's with their grandparents. For other children, it could be with their foster parents. It could be with neighbors in school programs. It could also happen in their backyard with a mentor, with a coach, learning a sport in many different ways. For some, it might actually occur on a street corner as they are crossing the street on their way to or from school. And this is the purpose for my bringing this as a discussion for you all, or really just to share something that happened recently. So recently, since August, my son, as you all know, takes band at Storm Grove Middle School, and we leave our community every morning, and every morning we meet Mr. Hudson Werner. He is a crossing guard at the corner of 57th Street and 58th Avenue. And every morning, Mr. Hudson, he says, you know, his last name is Werner, but he would prefer to be called Mr. Hudson. He waves to every single car and he helps cross every single child and family across the street in all directions. He is the most sweet, genuine, you can tell his aura is just all of love for the children. Now, I've been living in this community for 11 years, and for 11 years, this man is always on the corner. Rain or shine, he is there. Of course, most recently, because I bring my son to band every morning, now we see him regularly every morning, and we look forward to seeing him. In fact, one morning we got to the corner and, when we get into the car every morning, we look forward to seeing him, but this morning he was busy communicating with somebody else, and so his back was towards us, and even though we waved, he couldn't see us, and we crossed the corner, got to the other side, and I tell you, we both were bummed. We looked at each other like, oh my gosh, we didn't get to say good morning. And I tell you, I'm not joking. I mean, if you know me at all, I mean, this is how we both were in the car. And of course, my son said, Mom, you got to say hi when you go back. I said, I will, and I did. But then at that moment, it dawned on me how important it is that even the school crossing guard has an impact on our children every single morning. And my son does not walk, we are in the car. So much so that on Halloween, this gentleman had a bag of candy and stopped every single car, at a light, of course, not while they were driving, to give my son, a bag of candy, a little baggie of candy. And my soft-hearted self broke out in tears. And I rolled down the window. It was already rolled down. And I said, Mr. Hudson, you have no idea how special this bag of candy is. And he said, oh, with no issues, no worries, you have a wonderful day. And I said, you have no idea how sweet, I could not believe how sweet it was for him to put together bags and bags of candy. For how many children does he see in the morning? How many? You never know. And I did introduce myself. I said, I'm one of the school board members, and he said, you're a school board member? And I said, yes, sir, and I gave him my name, and he said, why do we say early release? Why does dismissal have to be early release? And I said, I have no idea. And he said, can you please try to change that? We release prisoners, we don't release children. And I said, I can do that. From the car window, I can do that, I promise. I'm gonna speak to the board members about this.
Release.
So I spoke with Dr. Moxley about this, and Dr. Moxley said, oh, that's an easy thing to fix, of course. That's just a matter of language. So I'm bringing it to you all, board members, on behalf of Mr. Hudson Werner. If we could please move forward with eliminating the words release as when it's referring to dismissal at any point in time, and instead say early dismissal, not early release. If you all would support Mr. Werner in this, I did tell him that I would speak with you all tonight about it. I'm hoping that he is watching online and hopefully listening to your responses. I will end with this. I did some research on crossing guards. And lo and behold, there is a day that Florida identifies as Crossing Guard Appreciation Day. I did speak with Kristen about this in August. She's shaking her head because I did. I said, Kristen, this is in August. I have a project for you. And I don't know where it will fit in all the other projects, but can we honor our crossing guards? Not considering that Mr. Werner would give us Halloween candy, and it would move my heart so much so. And so it turns out that there is a day, and Nancy helped me find this day. It's the first Friday in February. It's traditionally celebrated as School Crossing Guard Appreciation Day in the state of Florida. And there is a form, believe it or not, online to nominate your Florida Crossing Guard of the Year. In case anybody is interested, for anyone out, who is listening for the public, the link is, you know what, I'll have to give it to you because it's all these ASPX dot blah, blah, blah. I can give it to whomever needs it.
Do you know who you're going to nominate yet?
Kristen could
Of course, gee, I wonder who it's going to be. But anyone can nominate your Crossing Guard of the Year. And I would like for us, Dr. Moxley, board members, if I could not only ask for you to embrace the change of early release to early dismissal, but to also use this day here for us to do something special for the crossing guards in our community. Something, I don't know what it might be, but I think it's important because I think they are unsung heroes. They are on those street corners in heat, in rain, and they make a huge impact to bring a smile to a child who is looking forward or maybe has left their home and is very sad, and then they see the crossing guard and they have no choice but to smile because the crossing guard is saying, have a great day today. I get goosebumps because that's how it feels when we run into Mr. Hudson every morning. And so I just hope that we can honor the unsung heroes in some manner or fashion, and I leave it open to board members for further discussion.
Okay, discussion.
I like early dismissal instead of early release. That's a good idea, Jackie. And
Yep.
I have my own favorite crossing guard that I'll be nominating, but thank you for bringing that to my attention. I cannot wait to celebrate Crossing Guard Day in Indian River County Schools, and I have, beyond what the district does, I have a few tricks up my sleeve, so sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Yeah, I'm happy to support both of those, and I will acknowledge in the release dismissal thing, not just with this, but words matter. It matters what we call things. Words carry a certain intent with them. And the idea that we are releasing kids from school in some way, like it's incarcerated them in some way, I can appreciate the nuance of the language that I hadn't thought about before.
Yeah.
So, yes, I can go with that. And yeah, I don't have a favorite crossing guard, but I'm fine to celebrate the ones that are out there. Totally cool with that. And maybe as we move closer to that, Kristen can publicize that in some exceptional way that she knows how to do. I'm totally good with that.
I agree. I never even thought about it in that way. I always didn't like the term just because it sounded like, oh, we get out early from school. Well, school should be fun. School should be exciting. We shouldn't be celebrating the fact that we get out early.
You don't have a teenager at home, do you?
Yeah, well, I did. I had 3. So that, I never thought about that. So I thank you for bringing that to our attention.
It's Mr. Werner.
And I don't have a favorite crossing guard at the moment, but I will say this. Anytime I am going by the schools that I usually go by, I have never failed to see them on time. So I've never been somewhere where I haven't seen a crossing guard that shouldn't be there. So I appreciate the fact that they're the unsung heroes. They're where they should be.
All I'm saying is I thought it was going to be more complicated than that, so I'm just happy. I'm all for the change of the words. I'm all for celebrating the first Friday in February. This is easy, so, okay, it's good. I thought it was going to be something more complicated, but this is easy. All right, is that it?
That is it. So, Mr. Hudson, if you're listening, congratulations, sir. Your voice matters. Your vote counts.
Ooh. I don't know if I would say that, but. All right, let's see. Did we, I think we are school board member matters. Do we want to move on to that, or do we want to put our thoughts into school board member matters, or, go ahead.
Yeah, can I speak first to that?
Yeah.
Did you see the census was April 1st?
That's what I have.
April Fool's Day.
Yeah, I guess.
I'm just
I
curious.
didn't think about it that way.
Yeah, I did. I know what April 1st is. Okay. And I wanted to say that, especially for teachers in the audience that are listening, the comment I made earlier about if you're not passionate about teaching, you retire. I don't want to say that people that have retired aren't passionate about what they did. Okay? I don't want that to come back on me because I just did it. I just retired from teaching, and I'm still passionate about teaching. So I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't taken the wrong way. I got to attend the Principal of the Year and the Assistant Principal of the Year announcements this past week. And I know it was last minute, so it was hard. This was the first time I got to do something like that last minute during the day, so I was all excited. So it was really nice to like jump in my car and be there and get to surprise them. So that was fun. We didn't get to go on a yellow bus, but that's okay. So I'd just like to congratulate Mrs. Harris, our Principal of the Year, and Mr. Cummings, our Assistant Principal of the Year, both well-deserved. And I thought we would see a video on that tonight, but I guess that's coming.
It is coming.
Okay. I know they work really hard to get these out like that. The superintendent search. We are under this big search, and I thank you, board members, for last week. I thought that meeting was very productive. It's sad that the news doesn't include that search about the 6 semifinalists. I was hoping an article would come out about that. And I actually asked a reporter who called me about something else why they weren't calling me about that. And the comment was made, well, we're going to do it when it gets to the finals. Well, we have 6 rock stars that we're looking at. And I'm going to tell you that I already know that from some of the conversations I've had with several people. And it's going to be a difficult decision this week. It is. I think that we have a good problem. I was worried that we wouldn't have a good problem, but we have a very good problem. And that's kind of the thing I kept saying to people on the phone was, you know, we have a good problem. Help me with this problem. So I look forward to really getting down to the nitty-gritty on who's the best fit for our district. And I think that's the point at which I'm at in my shift of thinking is, okay, we have 6 solid candidates, which one is the best fit for us? So that's kind of where I'm looking at for that. Speaking of newspaper articles, that was mentioned this afternoon about the newspaper article that came out in 32963. And I thought, Dr. Schiff, and you haven't spoken yet, but we haven't had discussion. This is Members Matters, but I would like to discuss it a little bit because I know that Mrs. Zork, you were quoted several times and you were concerned about those quotes. And I asked, you know, if it were me that it happened to, I would come right out and say, I deny what was said, so that we can make that statement here on the dais that we deny what is being put in our papers. Because I think it's time that we stand up to this. That if something is in the paper that we don't agree with, you know what? I know they buy ink by the barrel, but we have a voice too. And we have the ability to say, we're happy that we're being able to work towards this really great improvement of looking towards the superintendent search. And I'm dismayed when I see that we have articles that are so negative about what we're trying to do. We've had so much negativity in the last couple of years, and we're starting to make that turn towards positive. And I think that moving this board towards more positive conversations, more positive things, is what we need to do as a group and come forward and be together. That's part of why I said we need change, because I think that we need to look towards making positive comments as much as we can as a team. And so if something comes out in the paper that I'm quoted and it's incorrect, I'm going to be the first person to come up here and say that. I'm going to say that was incorrect. That is not a quote that I gave them. And I will not give that reporter a quote unless it's in writing. I'm going on the record to say that too.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to comment about that?
I was going to comment when I get to my
We can either go
section.
down the line, or I can comment on that while we're at it, either way.
I was going to comment about it in my board member matters, but did you want to?
Sure, I'll So I said a few things this afternoon. I'm going to repeat some of those for benefit of people who watch the business meeting and who don't get to the afternoon one. The article that came out last week that was entitled, I don't remember the exact title, but it was something about school board thinks search consultant process is a flop, or whatever that was. I have absolutely no idea where that came from. I have no idea why it was characterized as we believe it is a flop. Not only was it not discussed with me, I don't know who of the board members it might have been discussed with, but I certainly didn't say it was a flop. What I said this afternoon, and I'll reiterate now, you want to criticize, a newspaper's job is to be critical, is to be analytic. I am not objecting to being criticized. I have no problem with being criticized on the merits of the work that I do or don't do. What concerned me about that article was that it interferes with the integrity of a process that helps us create the best district we can. I would like to believe that we're all working together and that when we are criticized for doing things that people disagree with, it is in the best interests of moving this district and everybody in it forward. What articles like that do is they cause people, first off, it was untrue because we don't think that the search committee is a flop, as evidenced by the terrific meeting that we had and the terrific slate of candidates that we have. And if anybody does think that on this board, I don't know about it, so I'm going to speak for myself, not for anybody else. I don't think it's a flop. The other thing in that is the way we move this district forward is by getting the best superintendent we possibly can. When a superintendent candidate reads things like that, there is an intimation about the board and about the district and about what they're walking into. And that's not actually what I want to communicate because it's untrue. And I want to acknowledge the fact that things like that aren't just critical of the board. They put something out that interferes with our ability to move this district forward, and that's what frustrates me. It's not the criticism itself. We need to be able to move this district forward and get the best superintendent we can, because if we can't do that, why are we bothering to do anything else? In that article, too, as long as I'm on a roll.
I have it up if you'd like, if you want to know any talking points from it, I have it up on my.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
But while I wasn't directly quoted, and I have a rule, by the way, when I speak to reporters, Mrs. Barenborg, I have had this for years, which is that if you are going to quote me, I ask that you send me those quotes first so that I can approve them before they get published. Reporters can't send me the full body of the article, but they can send me the quotes, and I always request that. And it's part of the way I determine the integrity of somebody that I'm going to speak to and whether I'm ever going to speak to them again. In this case, nobody called me. But something that was written in that article that was used in evidence of us thinking that it was a flop was that I said that we wanted to look at the resumes and the supporting materials of the candidates. For the record, I don't do that because I think the search team is incompetent or can't do it. I do it because it's my job. It's my job to look at every single candidate that comes before us. It's my job within the integrity of being elected to this position. It has nothing to do with whether or not I trust the search firm or not. So that was used in evidence of my not trusting the search firm is completely untrue. And if anybody here doesn't think that's my job, I welcome a conversation about that. I think it's all of our jobs on this. If you want to criticize us, great, go ahead and criticize us. But please make sure the facts are correct. I have seen a lot of things come out. I was at the meeting that things were quoted that didn't happen. Mm-hmm. And in reference to pushing back, yeah, I'm not getting, this is not about being defensive, this is about being factual. I have nothing against being talked about in the newspaper. I have nothing against a newspaper being critical of the board or the district, but please get your facts straight. Mrs. Barenborg, you just commented on change versus stability and that you felt like we had a need for change. And I just want to say I have a slightly different position on that, which has nothing to do, we get to have our own opinions. But what I think is that if I look at where this board was a year ago and I look at where we are now, we are not perfect, but we are light years ahead of where we were a year ago. And I credit the ability of this board to come together. I credit our superintendent. But the way we work together now, the way we make decisions now, the way we move issues forward now is, in my mind, light years different than what we were able to do a year ago. And I'm frankly proud of that. So, you know, I thank you all for your, you know, trust in me as now supporting me as vice chair. I appreciate that. I don't have the heavy lifting to do in that role, but I want to acknowledge us as a board for the work we've been able to do and our ability to put a lot of our personal issues behind us in the interests of moving forward the work of the district and the board. And I would really value seeing that recognized in the paper and elsewhere. And now I'll get off the soapbox.
Okay.
Got a little riled up there, since you asked me.
Anything else for you?
Oh, on, do I have anything else on school board member? What about Mrs. Rosario?
No, that's
Because I
okay.
should- Okay. The only thing I have. Okay. The only thing I have is that I'm checking my calendar, and we haven't had a board meeting since we had the equity committee presentation, have we? Because I don't know if I've acknowledged that here on the board, have we?
No,
No, this is you.
this is the first.
This is the first time. So, yeah, so that's what I thought, because it seems like that was a really long time ago, and we should have had a board
It does seem like
meeting.
it was a long time.
Right, and I checked my calendar,
Oh,
because
wow.
it seems like that was such a long time ago, but we haven't had a board meeting since then. And I want to acknowledge that 2 weeks ago, we had the annual presentation of the Equity Committee, who did an outstanding job. I'm excited about their work. I'm excited about our ability as a district to move that work forward. And again, I'm excited about our coming together as a board in support of that work in the ways we are now moving that forward, which I think is a distinct departure from what we've been able to do in the past. And I'm really looking forward to working collaboratively with the Equity Committee, with the Equity Department, and moving forward the African American Achievement Report and everything else that we do in service of racial equity and all forms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. And I think that's it. That's all I got for now. Thank you.
Mrs. Justice?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Mrs. Zork. I just want to highlight something that's happening in our community that I haven't heard anything about publicly, but a dear friend of mine is a part of Dale Sorensen Real Estate, and they have started a program called Heroes on the Move, and they offer rebates to first responders and teachers and different things who might want to buy a home. And so we talk a lot about partnering with communities to do certain things like that. And so I just want to say thank you to Dale Sorensen Real Estate for taking this initiative. And perhaps we could invite them, maybe if they'd like to make a presentation at a board meeting, or like to just be recognized for creating a program to try to help teachers become homeowners. I just think it's a really great way to give back to our community. So thanks to Dale Sorensen Real Estate for this. November 23rd is National Adoption Day. I just bring that up because it's a really special day for me and my family, and I think that family means a lot of different things, and adoption's really awesome. If you haven't ever experienced it, it can be a wonderful, wonderful thing. So that is it. Good work today, fellow school board members, and I wish you all a lovely Tuesday night, what's left of it.
Mrs. Rosario? 3 minutes. No, just kidding. Go ahead. All right, 2.5. You're using your. Go ahead.
I have to process.
It's a long day.
I was going to mention and talk about the article, but, you know, what I find distressing is, you know, that, again, I'm using this word cherry picking. I mean, articles get printed all the time. I have been, I would say, the target of some articles that have been written that have been completely false. But I don't see the need to talk about every article that is printed, true or false. It's just the nature of the job. I was not as distressed as most of you were for some reason, because I just knew that it was false. I knew that what was printed just couldn't have been accurate, since it came out the day of or the day after our Wednesday meeting with HYA, And it just seemed like there were just piecemealed pieces of information, and quite frankly, I think that we can go on the record as saying that I'm not the candidate or the board member that speaks politically correct, and if I were to take the opposite point of view, and I hate the word devil's advocate, but if there is a word for that, if I were to take that point of view, and let's just say it was true. Let's just say you did have that point of view. Let's just say that was your opinion. I'd probably say, so what? I mean, that's the person that's, politically incorrect, I suppose. So what? That's your opinion. If it were your opinion, so what? But I know that that's not your opinion. I know that that's not your opinion because of the work that we've been doing. I knew that that wasn't your opinion because of how hard you have been working to get everybody together. I knew that that wasn't your opinion because you shared with us at that meeting that even while you had the flu, you were on the phone with them and Dr. Moxley for 2 hours from home.
No,
Probably.
I was here.
Here. Look, even worse, while you have the flu, on the phone with them for more than 2 hours trying to get everything organized so that Wednesday was an organized meeting. That just spoke when you said that on Wednesday, and or whenever it was mentioned to us in an open meeting, that your dedication, and this is, I'm constantly giving credit to Dr. Moxley, but one of the reasons why I wanted Laura to be chair again is because I have seen your leadership in this role time and time again, where you have taken the bull by the horns and you really have just run with it. And it is really very admirable. That is a perfect example of how being sick, being with the flu, and still being dedicated to making sure that a meeting like Wednesdays with HYA was so important that you wanted to make sure that every detail was taken care of and that it would be organized and that it would run smoothly. And it was evident that Wednesday was a smooth run from beginning to end, and it went very well. It's not a secret that I did not vote for HYA from the beginning. That's not a secret. But I think that we have been working well with them. I think that we have all been on the same page. And, it is no secret also that news reporters don't always report what is accurate, unfortunately. And this particular person has written articles before that have really been spot on. So it's pretty unfortunate that this one was not. It's not my job to tear it apart, to be honest with you. But I respect everybody's opinion on it. I happen to have a different opinion, And again, that's my opinion. Doesn't make me right or wrong. It doesn't make you right or wrong. I just think everybody has a different opinion, and that's the beauty of being on a board of the ladies that where we work together, because we all have different opinions and we all have different viewpoints. That said, Laura, I just want to say thank you for your leadership. I'm glad that there was consensus for you to be board chair. I want to share an email that was sent out, and I think it was sent to everyone today. Some of the reasons why I thought that you ought to remain as chair was the interlocal government health insurance workshop that you led the charge on. That was something that based on what I understand, had not been done before, and I thought that you did a great job in organizing that. I was there, Dr. Schiff, you were there. It was really an incredible opportunity.
I was there.
Were you there?
Yes.
I'm sorry. Mrs. Barenborg, I don't recall where you were sitting.
I was on the other side of you with your hair
Were
turned
you?
that way.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. That's what happens, right, when you have this big thing. Believe me, you're not the only one that gets lost in there. Oftentimes, I can't find my son because I'm like, where are you?
Okay, we should probably.
Rein it back in, rein it back in.
Please.
The
Is your 3
vaping,
minutes up? I'm just curious.
let's not go there, okay? You want civility, you all want civility, and you want respect, then
Hey,
give
she
it
said
where it's done.
She said 3 minutes.
Give it
not me.
where it is due. Again, let's not cherry pick who gets to be civil and who doesn't. Okay, so the electronic cigarettes and electronic nicotine delivery systems, or the ENDS resolution, was something that you brought forth to us. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for, again, really, Dr. Schiff talks about where we were a year ago and where we are now. We wouldn't be here right now if it weren't for you. We would not be here right now had you not asked Dr. Rendell to tender his resignation. I'm sorry, it is what it is. We would not be here, Dr. Moxley would not be here. It is what it is, and it is the truth. And so, if you go back and you look, really, before Dr. Moxley came in, Laura, you were leading in this position, and you brought forth some suggestions for board members on many different occasions for us to consider and vote on, and I want to thank you for your leadership on that. So, I was proud to nominate you tonight, and Dr. Schiff.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So I'm into
3 minutes.
Okay, 3 minutes.
It wasn't me that said that, just saying.
I know, I can say that because,
No, but you said it to me, so
Kidding.
let's not cherry pick.
So I want to say that we had a very, what happens here after we've been here for 10 hours together, it's a little late and we're getting a little slap happy, is that what you called it? I agree. What I would like to say is we had a wonderful meeting on Wednesday. We had 10 very strong candidates that Hazard Young, Atia, and Associates brought to us. Dr. Brown and Dr. Adams both invested a lot of time and research into checking the references, calling the references. Of course, we know that that's part of their job, but I feel when I came into that meeting, it went above and beyond what I was expecting and hoping. So I think it was a very professional presentation that they gave us, and it was good guidance along the way. So I do appreciate their guidance, and that is for sure for Wednesday. We have now narrowed it down to 6 spectacular candidates, and I think, was it Mrs. Barenberg said that they were rock stars, and I think we're on to, it's going to be difficult, our decisions, because we have all these highly qualified individuals. Now we just have to narrow it down. What individual is going to fit our communities, fit our school district, fit the needs of our students, fit the need of, where we are with the equity. So we, even though it's Tuesday, Thursday, we really have a tough job ahead of us, and it's probably going to be, and I'm going to say this, it's probably going to be one of the most intense decisions that I'm going to put it in the top 10 decisions that I'm ever going to be able to make in my life, because it's that important to our students and their future. So I'm excited, anxious, and I just know that at the end of the day, we have a spectacular pool. So I am very happy with where we are right now in the superintendent search. I do want to close by saying, and I did speak to the board about this today, I was very disappointed, and I'm very close-lipped when it comes to articles being written, because I know that there's power in the pen. So going after someone negative who writes something about you, they have 20 times the ability to just keep writing it and writing it. So a lot of times I feel there's more to ignoring it. But out of the respect of my board members, and I was very shocked when I opened the paper and I actually read it. I actually was told there was a great article, and I remember giving the interview on the vaping. So I was looking for that article, and I did not see that in the paper. But what I did see was something that was shocking to me, and I did relate that to the writer, that I'm just very disappointed. I don't know. I don't know. The timing of it was very bizarre too, of that article. The timing was just not a good time for that to come out. And like I think you had said, Mrs. Rosario, it come out the day after we had that meeting, and the timing just made it seem like the article was speaking to the meeting that we had just had. So I felt there was a lot of, and I am gonna be transparent here, I did not read the entire article, because after I got halfway through it, I was very disappointed in it, because a lot of what I was reading wasn't factual. And so going forward, I felt like I have a very good relationship with all our local reporters, but going forward, I am going to be very sensitive to how I am interacting with certain individuals. So with that, I mean, there's power in the pen, and I'm disappointed, and there's a lot of misfactual information in there, but and I agree with Mrs. Rosario. We can't battle these. I feel like we need to really look at these negative articles and attack it through a positive approach, and getting our own press release out about what happened. And that was my first approach. As soon as I read that, I sent Dr. Moxley an email, and I don't think I copied you, Kristen, but I had expressed, let's get ahead of this, because this just isn't factual here. But that's all I have to say to that.
Mrs. Zork, thank you for saying that, because and that was my big point of bringing this up, is because I feel like we're being watched by HYA, we're being watched by the superintendents right now. And I think that we need to send that message out, that sometimes you don't believe what you read. And I think it's our job not to just ignore, but to also stand up for what's right. And so I think it's important that we say, when something's wrong and something's not reported correctly, we say it. So thank you.
You're welcome. And I know that we do have, I spoke to 2 reporters yesterday and the day before, and Kristen did I had called and asked one of the reporters who called me for something else, and I had asked them if they could please report on the search and the timeline that's ahead of us, so that we can get the information out. And I was thinking that we would have at least 2 articles out today from other news sources that could really highlight the good work that did happen on Wednesday. And if it's not out today, I was reassured it will be out tomorrow. I think
we're to the close.
Okay,
so.
go ahead, Dr. Moxley.
Nope, I'm whenever you're.
No,
you're
I've
done.
rambled on too long.
I want to acknowledge that Mrs. Rutledge is still sitting in the audience, has sat through this entire meeting, and is the only non-staff person to have lasted us out, so bravo.
I just have to just say, I mean, my kids are almost through the system, and I get my involvement with PTA, SAC committees, sports organizations, you name it.
Do you want to come up to, just so the public can hear her because she's speaking? Madam Chair. Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
What?
Is that okay? Because she was speaking.
Just real quick,
Your name?
Karen Rutledge. I have a lot of connections in the community, whether it be my kids, SAC community, SAC committees, PTAs, putting on teacher staff appreciation, sports, you name it. I've worked for both hospitals in the county, and I get contacted a lot on all sides. Hey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And my point that I think is always important to tell people is go to the source. Go to the source, go to the source, go to the source. Because everybody has their own personal agenda. But I can honestly say, and some of y'all are very well aware of it, but I support this board. Everybody has their uniqueness to it, but I support this board. And I think it was today, this was a perfect example of one thing is said, but then when you go to the source and you get your information, now you've spoken your mind, you've spoken your piece, and now people have heard you, and you can get your questions answered directly. So to me, that was important, and that's why I am sitting here until you guys go home too, because I support this board. I may not make it every single meeting, because I work just about every single Tuesday, taking care of the sickest of the sick in our county. But, yeah, so to me, it was important that you guys did your job and your due diligence, and I've spoken to other people that told me this board did their due diligence, and the committee members that worked on these decisions and stuff, and so I think it speaks volumes to the kids to know that. I'm glad you guys have acknowledged to them that you've got some food for thought. I don't know what the solution is. Like I said, mine are on the way out. I don't have a dog in the fight when it comes to CTE, really. But, yeah, I'm excited of the things to come, and I'm glad that you guys heard the kids, and that's what it's about. I mean, they're who you represent as well, so.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, and
you
thank you
so
for your
much.
positive comments that you put out there in the public. I read them,
you.
yeah.
Okay, so we are on to superintendent closing.
Thank you and good night.
Oh, man. I like that.
You just got your halo tonight.
St. Susan. All right, St. Susan, we're going to adjourn this meeting at 9:21.